But the thing is, the lawsuit is still going forward with the others included upon the lawsuit.
Yeah, it's really funny, the James Damore situation, and how Jordan Peterson, laid it out. Jordan Peterson that said that James Damore was just part of an engineering group, and he had to go to one of these Google diversity meetings, and they asked for feedback. And since he's,
and he provided
an engineer,
feedback.
he thought, oh, you want feedback. So he, did his reach and then posted this in like a private sort of Google, chat.
Yeah.
And it became, it's such an unwarranted firing. It's such an infringement on freedom of speech.
It is. And the thing is, it denies science.
Yes.
It literally denies the biological framework of science. That's what Jordan Peterson was saying on his, whenever he retweeted the article. It was, science is now illegal. Biologists look out.
I suppose their reasoning for it, though, was that he was forcing gender roles. Like that was it, wasn't it?
He wasn't. That's what they claim it was. But there's no evidence to even speculate upon that. Give me 1 minute. I'm gonna grab socks real quick.
Yeah, the James Damore situation is just so bizarre.
Well, I find it intensely amusing because they tried to fire him, they tried to silence him or whatever. And
they internally approved bonuses for people that were against Damore's memo and openly basically were shitting on it.
Yeah. What's the funny part though is the body of evidence he brought out to show like blatant discrimination within Google that is actually against California and federal law. Like the same thing happened with I don't know if you guys saw this, Scott Baio, the guy from that Charles in Charge show. It ended in like 96, and this chick who had been on the show a couple times like a month ago was like, oh, he was sexually abusing me on set. And he's like, really? Okay. And he put out like a 16 or 13 minute long video, and he's got this stack of papers in front of him, and he's like, all right, we're going to go through the evidence, like blog recordings, actual scripts that he dug up from his records from when the show was running. And he's like, oh yeah, he just cut her the fuck apart. And he's like,
blown the fuck out.
Oh, he lawyered the shit out of this thing. Like the way the Honey Badgers are doing that lawsuit up there is they're just like, you want to fight? All right, cool. Here is the fucking stack of evidence that I have to take apart everything you can possibly say. And like now people are looking at, the class action Damore has brought against Google, and they're like, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
And you fighting it just makes you look even worse.
Yeah, it makes you look like an asshole.
But there is some justice here in the fact that James Damore and Jordan Peterson and Brett Weinstein now have so much publicity and probably wealth out of it. So these people who hate James Damore are probably so fucking pissed because their ideological opponent is making a living. They're capitalizing on social justice warriors.
But the thing is though is like I have family who are cut from that cloth. And I kind of do and kind of don't hate making this comparison, but a lot of them argue, quote unquote, like Big Red from that anti-MRA protest in Toronto. We all know who Big Red is. And they just scream at you and call you things and insult you. And they don't actually bring facts. They're just spouting dogma that they've swallowed for eons because they believe in it so hard. So when you have it, what you end up with is the Jordan Peterson, Kathy Newman interview ambush. It was an ambush. I'm just going to call it that from here on.
Yeah.
Where you have this very collected, composed, they might show some emotion, but they're putting out research. And the other side is just this screeching harridan harpy that's just spouting dogma at them. So you look at it and you got some confirmation bias. So the liberal people will say, oh, well, he was wrong, obviously. then literally everyone else says, well,
I don't see how that's true whenever all the evidence is presented. Well, that just means you're a racist and a bigot and a sexist and a misogynist.
Yeah. But racist, sexist, anti-gay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of want to comment on this feminist thing because when Sargon created this liberalist group, he created it around some set principles which he laid out in a few live streams.
Yeah.
And in high school, I studied feminism, and I studied the early days of feminism and how they force-fed women into eating because they were going on hunger strikes and all that. And it seems to me that the original movement of feminism genuinely was to get women to have equal voting rights as men. Now, of course, these modern feminists have taken that and sort of
third wave.
Yeah, third wave feminists. And I was thinking, if say, the alt-right or something jumped onto the liberalist group, which I think they kind of have.
I've seen a few of them in there.
Yeah, like if the liberalist group was seen in the media as, a right-wing fascist organization based off of, a few comments, and it became sort of main, everyone's conception of liberalism on the internet, or liberalists on the internet, was that they were fascists. Wouldn't you want to be able to say, no, I'm not letting you take my label and use it for your own political goals. Well, I'm going to stick by the original codified, feminist doctrine and call myself a feminist. And for me, I guess I see whenever someone's called a feminist now or something, like, because in my country, feminism still just means equal rights, at least in, most people's minds.
And that's what it's supposed to mean, at least. Yeah.
Well, you touched on a couple things there. Is first the whole false dichotomy between the far left and the far right of, are you a communist or are you a fascist? So, like, the far right will call us communists because we'll actually talk to people on the left, and the left will call us fascists because we talk to people on the right.
Yep.
So they'll both just shut us out. They'll call us the bad thing and just ignore us or attack us either way. Whereas feminism, I mean, I've been following a lot of documentation about feminism, often from like Karen Strawn. And the earliest back I've seen that feminism goes is into like the late 1700s, early 1800s. And it was about the franchise, getting the vote.
Yeah.
And it was from, all right, well, only, rich white landowner men can vote, like in the UK up until like 1917 or something. Landowners got multiple votes, and pretty much everyone else was just out of luck.
And
it was pretty much the same here in the US through the First World War. So you've got all these, veterans coming back and whatever, and they're like, what the hell? I've fought and died and killed for this country, and I can't vote. And a lot of women jumped on that too. The suffragettes, or like the white feather insanity that happened in England. And then after World War II, we had the civil rights movement. And initially, sure, equality. There's not a whole lot more power that you can give a citizen beyond directly voting in local, regional, state, and national level elections. That's a lot of power to give people who might not even wash their ass every day.
Yeah.
And initially it was, but I think the problem was we had people like, Gloria Steinem, kinda. What's the real? There's one who is the feminist writer who talked about how all heterosexual sexual intercourse is rape. Andrea Dworkin.
That might be under delay.
No, I think it was Andrea Dworkin. Is the hardcore feminists like Andrea Dworkin, and there's a few others, I forget their names right now, I haven't had enough coffee, who are like, no, we have to make everything equal. So
Andrea
stuff like
Dworkin.
Yeah.
criticism of pornography, which she argued was linked to rape and other forms of violence against women. Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm. And like you saw, like the first seeds of the TERFs sown in the feminist movement, and they were never stopped. They just kept, rowing that canoe to saying whatever they pretty much wanted, and almost nobody stopped them. There was almost nobody who said, no, you are objectively insane. There was no sanity check. It was a self-created echo chamber, and they just didn't scrap ideas. They didn't do a second draft. They didn't have an editor. It was, all right, well, here's another plank in the platform. Let's just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just the bullshit of it.
Cool.
Yeah. Actually, if you guys don't mind me commenting on transgender people and all that,
yeah, go ahead.
When just the LGBTQAWX, whatever the fuck it is,
they're trying to add pedophiles into a term of sexuality now.
Sorry, who are they?
Don't remind me. Don't remind me, please.
I know.
Sorry, who are they? Like, is it like CNN posted something about that?
It made some rounds on the media. I don't know if it made it out to you guys entirely, like on the big channels and stuff.
The group itself, as well as pedophile advocacy groups.
They're trying they're trying to legalize and decriminalize essentially pedophilia.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's what a lot of people, or what someone's position would be if they took this position. Because I was thinking about this.
It is.
Well, I was thinking about this pedophilia thing, and I was thinking, how do you reduce harm? How do you make sure less children are being abused? And I was thinking, in our society today, if you're a drug user, you can go get help. If you're a wife beater or an alcoholic, you can go get help. But there would be such, social backlash against, say, some
like a rehab program.
Yeah, like perhaps a rehab program. I mean, it would be. I don't know. I don't think anyone would like hate on a pedophile who realized that he was mentally ill and he was trying to get help. But how many people just like hate who they are because of their horrible, disgusting fetish, and then sort of demonize themselves and castrate themselves from society?
I mean, NAMBLA
is like committing a crime.
But no, like there are people in the far left. What do I call these people? Like the outrage machine, like the leftist outrage machine, who have advocated for the decriminalization of pedophilia.
Well,
I'm not kidding. Those people are out there. I don't even want to talk about Milo. The man is he's an outrage farmer. Oh, he's just an asshole who says whatever the hell he wants. He gets away with it.
I actually wrote about Milo a couple months ago. Whenever his not scandal, but I would say his issue kind of came out, and I totally get it.
Milo is a professional troll, but let me finish my thought here real quick. So I was in the U.S. Army for 7 years. I've been to 9 countries on 4 continents.
Holy
3 different
shit.
combat zones. Yeah.
Wow.
And like I've got various art up here. My cavalry spurs are on the wall back there. I've got an Afghan flag on the wall over here.
Do you have a flag behind you that says the beatings will increase until morale, or the beatings will continue until morale increases?
Yes,
I've got that same flag.
Yeah. So when I have no idea. I just think it's funny. So when I went to Afghanistan, got back almost 4 years ago now. I was outside Kandahar airfield. Was on Kandahar airfield for a bit. Did some really crazy stuff that I just don't feel like talking about right now because it's just a lot of stories. There was a woman on my team who I'm just going to call G because that's the first letter of her last name. And G is a like 5'6" white chick from somewhere in Georgia, and she's gay. She got married to her wife a little while ago. I don't remember exactly where she's stationed right now, but the thing is, G and I would gladly go into fucking battle with this woman, like no question, because I know that she was tactically competent. I didn't give a damn who she wanted to sleep with. It didn't matter.
Yeah, as long as you do your job. But the thing
is like if shit went sideways, and like my team, we were a reconnaissance team, so we had to be in high elevation areas with very little cover. You know, it might be like a 4-inch thick adobe wall between us and the Taliban.
Wow.
And that's it. And if we got like the cavalry guys we were attached to, if they gave us a crew served machine gun team up there, we were ecstatic. We're like, holy shit, they're actually going to help cover us now.
Wow.
You know, but the thing is like, I knew that if I got fucking shot, Casey could drag me off of that rooftop or hilltop and get me to somebody. And that's what I care about. I don't give a shit what you identify as or who you want to sleep with or what you're whatever. What I care about is, can you fucking contribute to what's going on around you? That's at the end of the day, that's what fucking matters. It's not your race or your gender or any of that other shit. What God you call on. I served with Muslim soldiers in South America. And like we made sure to give him, that this one guy in particular, when Ramadan came around and he was observing Ramadan, we changed his schedule and the rest of us covered for him because we understood that he was there doing his job. Just he needed a little bit of help along the way.
You know, and that's a really interesting thing because that's just a sign that people are getting along. And, you know, the left is always, you know, going after people for making racist jokes. And I just think, holy shit, isn't, you know, if there was a black man with a white man and the black man was joking about slavery, I mean, wouldn't that world that those two people live in, you know, wouldn't that be a sign that the world is less racist? That, you know, there's a horrible history behind them, but they can, you know, not get over it, but sort of, you know, find mutual admiration in one another so that they know the premise from what the other person is starting from. And it just seems the left, you know, they don't ever look at somebody's intent or background whenever they label someone as a, I mean, I'm using the term they very broadly. I'm just, you know, talking about people who appear on my Twitter.
Because for the left, it's not about what you can accomplish or contribute. It's about your race, your gender, your orientation. Yeah. That's what they care about. It's not, oh, hey, you're, you know, a certified underwater. It's like you're a certified underwater welder and a machinist. So I could give you a machine shop and you can make anything. That's not what they care about. What they care about is, oh, you're a cisgender heterosexual white male. So fuck you, guy.
So I'm really interested in this sort of topic because to me it just seems like on each political issue, whether it be healthcare, gay rights, you know, getting money out of politics, I would say most people, for the generality of their views, they align in America, you know, left wing. Would you say? But just socially, the left has gone to shit. So, you know,
it really depends on geographic area.
Yeah,
it really does. Like the difference between, say, New Orleans, Louisiana, here in our deep south, and like Biloxi, Mississippi, 100 miles down the coast, it's completely different.
Yeah, it's interesting because like it just seems to me that the radical leftists and the alt-right or the radical right, they just are such tiny minorities of people who are spewing this sort of ideological garbage onto the internet. And it seems like, you know,
the rest
Jordan Peterson and Dave Rubin, they all say that the left is no longer liberal. And it just seems to me that the people who are, you know, sort of, you know, they think cultural appropriation is a thing or white privilege, you know, impacts an individual in their day-to-day life. Like, I just see these people as, you know, Richard Spencer just completely on the fringe and almost not worth talking about except for their, you know, their outrageousness.
I mean,
what did Sargon say earlier last year? He was talking about Spencer, and he said, one day Spencer's going to fall because he wasn't white enough himself. It just becomes an endless cycle of, oh, how far can I go? And they kill the head of the movement because they're not what they want anymore.
Yeah, a purity spiral.
We saw the same thing happen in Hollywood with the Me Too thing, where they just started eating each other.
Yeah.
Like Scarlett Johansson called out somebody, and then someone immediately called her a hypocrite, and they start throwing stones at each other from their glass houses.
Yep.
It's the same thing, just a different topic. That's all the difference between the left and the right.
The biggest movement of the Ouroboros effect about the left is during Berkeley's riots. Whenever the communists wrote "liberals get the bullets too," like I got a real sense of this is going to stop being a normie thing real quick, or this is going to trespass into normie territory extremely quickly, because a lot of people just overlooked that. Like no news source covered that at all, except for Sargon himself, or and probably a couple other people. But seeing that they're already infiltrating their own safe spaces, and they're making them.
It's the cult of purity, like
thank you.
Like Soviet Russia in the 1930s, in the lead up to World War II. Like Stalin purged literally everyone who wasn't absolutely loyal to him.
Yeah, that's interesting. There was like a proletarian and bourgeoisie. There was a working class, and suddenly, if you are part of the working class, income wise, and you had a different political view, you're suddenly an enemy of the working class. You're a problem.
It wasn't even that. It wasn't even that. It was, if I dislike you for any reason, including a reason that I make up, you are wrong.
Yep.
Like, look up the kulaks.
Thank you. I was about to bring that up.
Yep.
You were talking about that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, kulaks. Kulaks. They were just like landed farmers. They weren't even necessarily wealthy. They were just normal people who owned their own land. And Stalin needed
wealthy enough to own farm and hire labor, emerging after the emancipation of serfs in the 19th century. The kulaks resisted
Stalin and his guys wanted an excuse to nationalize every fucking square centimeter of land in Russia. So he's like, hey, the kulaks are the enemy of the state. They are withholding food from everyone during like the Holodomor. The like engineered famine that killed like 4 million Ukrainians.
Oh, kulak literally means fist in Russian.
Yeah.
Or it's like it's a derogatory term meaning tight-fisted.
Yeah.
Oh wow, so that's how they got them.
The pogroms against Jews was just an excuse to steal Jewish like holdings, like business holdings and money.
Yeah.
But it was all about securing positions. It was, who can I demonize to make myself look good, and so that everyone else thinks I'm right, even if I am completely wrong. That's exactly what Stalin did, and I'm pretty sure Hitler did as well. I just haven't studied that as much.
Yeah.
What was it called? Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. And there was another night called the night of the long knives was the big one, when the oh shit, this is gonna bother me now. It was a Nazi party purification thing where they just murdered like 1/6 of their people.
What's the knife? The Night of Long Knives. Which one is that one called? What's the German term for it?
I don't know the German for it. It's too long for me. German annoys me with the whole like ultimate freaking word thing. I love
the way the German language is constructed.
Yeah,
like Nacht. The funny thing is like when I typed it into Google, I just went and I typed it without, and Google thought I was thinking of something else. And I had to type
the Rumpusch is another name for it. Or Unternehmen Kolibri, Operation Hummingbird, Nacht der langen Messer, Night of the Long Knives, was a purge between Hitler and an opposition group led by a guy named Ernst Röhm, I think his name was. So the Schutzstaffel SS, who we all know as the SS, purged the Sturmabteilung, or the storm battalions, that had helped Hitler get to power in the first place. He just murdered all of them, and he's like, okay, I'm right.
Yeah, that there's a great video on the internet called "The Rules for Rulers," and it basically lays out every dollar you spend on, on the people or anyone who helped you get to power. And it's like, it seems weird that when a leader would rise to a new position, he would take out the people who helped him get there and adopt the counselors of his enemies. And the reason for that is because once someone has helped you get to your position, their job is over. You can pay them off and they can
They're
fuck
almost useless. You still have to pay them off to be your friend.
Yeah.
Why do you think Stalin killed Trotsky?
Cool. You helped me to get where I am, and now I have to pay you to keep being my friend? Nah. Click.
It's like, okay, here we go. Here's your final ration of 9 grams of lead.
What is it? A 9mm aspirin to the forehead?
Remarkably effective. Like there are so many like dictators and evil people from across history who did that. Like in North Korea, when Kim Jong-un was consolidating power, he had one guy executed with a fucking anti-aircraft gun.
What?
You ever seen Saving Private Ryan?
Yeah.
You know that 2-wheeled gun that the Germans pull out during the final scene?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those or something like it.
What?
Was it like one of those giant cannons?
We're talking like a 20mm or so autocannon. And for reference, a 20mm gun is about the size, the bullet and casing is about the size of an adult man's forearm.
And this was like a machine gun.
Automatic.
Fuck.
Yeah. He had another guy executed with a mortar shell. He's had a few people executed by dogs. And
Man, that's the worst.
Yeah. But the thing is, for each one of these executions, he's killed his own uncles, his half-brother in Malaysia. He's killed like 400 people from the upper leadership of North Korea. And every execution has been witnessed by multiple people.
Yeah,
so yeah. And
it's really
look at what I can do to
like,
anybody the fuck I want. That's why he killed his brother. His brother didn't matter. But he gets a face full of VX nerve gas in another country when he's supposedly under Chinese protection. That was only meant as a message to his own people. There was no other reason for it. Is I can get you whenever and wherever I want.
The thing is, as soon as he kills all those people, he has no one else to rule. So essentially, it becomes another Ouroboros theory.
Yeah,
where he just eats his own people. He has to have complete control over the environment and over the people.
Do you guys remember what was that James Bond villain, Blofeld, his organization? You guys remember that?
I don't remember. I don't think I've ever watched any James Bond movies.
Okay. Well, so like in that series of movies, Blofeld himself is number 1, then his guy is number 2, and then there was him as number 3 going down in sequence. And the way those systems work, terrorist organizations work like this too, is if you kill the guy at the top, literally everyone down the chain gets a promotion 1 step.
Yep.
Somebody gets promoted. And there's always going to be somebody else below the leadership. So it's just, hey, your boss is dead. Congratulations, you get his job. And one of the other guys who you work with gets your job.
Yeah, that's what I think is really funny is whenever people say like, oh, kill Trump. And like, you're just going to let Pence take the throne, essentially, right?
And it pisses me off so much. Like everyone was saying that Hillary is the lesser of 2 evils. I mean, that sort of fucking thinking gets you a Trump in 4 or 8 years. Like Trump is a symptom of a neoliberal problem. And Hillary wasn't the answer to that problem.
No, she wasn't. Bernie Sanders wasn't either.
What's your issue with Bernie Sanders?
I want to hear on your end why you think so, because I'm on board with that statement.
Why don't you like Bernie Sanders, comrade?
Oh, me? Bernie Sanders he's too damn socialist. He's like, we'll socialize everything.
So my response to that is, you do realize that there was a red propaganda scare in America, and the rest of the developed world has a country that Bernie Sanders just wanted to bring New Zealand politics to America, essentially. And, if you lived here, you'd call our country a socialist country. But here, we're just a democratic social. I don't know even what we are. We're a constitutional monarchy. We've got social programs. And nobody thinks that these social programs here is infringing on our freedom or liberty, except probably someone who has $200,000 income.
Bernie is, how do I characterize it? He's almost like what's like on the the line graph of political ideology. So on the far right, you have fascism, and on the far left, you have communism. If you walk about 4 slots right of actual communism, that's Bernie Sanders.
Yep.
He's ultra light communism.
But I don't get really what you're saying, because he was saying that, 99% of the wealth went to the top 1% in the last 20 years.
Because
there's been a great mess, due to corporate lobbying. People have basically rigged the system. And it's like, he wasn't in favor of raising taxes on the middle class, which is what Jeremy Corbyn wants in the UK. So it just seems like Carl Sargon of Akkad, sort of during the election shat on Bernie Sanders because he let Black Lives protesters take over his rally. And I just thought, fuck Sargon, if that's your only criticism of Bernie Sanders. I haven't really heard any criticism of Bernie Sanders' policies, except that either he's a sellout to Hillary Clinton or he's a communist. And
he was not a sellout. He was not a sellout. He didn't sell out at all. The Clinton Foundation and everything, they ate him alive. He literally was just he was a pedestal on which to make Hillary look good. And in the aftermath, they just ate him alive. He was never meant to win in the first place.
He never had a shot at winning.
If he went on the Republican side and so whenever the election first started and he's like, oh yeah, college should be free, I was thinking, that's it's not a good idea. But the thing is, if he's in power, the House is Republican, so they'll shoot it down or at least make him fix it to where they can at least lower something. Because I'm in debt right now from college, and whoop-de-doo. But no, I want to work my way out of it. I don't just want to be forgiven because it's recorded forever. There's no way it's gonna really go away. So
when it comes to the free college thing, when it comes to the actual numbers,
never going to work.
The amount that Donald Trump increased the military spending in the last, just recently, I think it was $62 billion or something. That would be enough to pay for everyone's free education for
several
a year.
times over, and a national health system for the United States.
So it's not everyone looked at Bernie Sanders saying free college, and they just said, how are we going to pay for it? And it just seems like if you cut military spending by half, ISIS isn't going to fucking degrade Nebraska.
I would recommend against it.
Sorry?
I would recommend, I would advise against cutting military budget spending, just because it's one of our national defenses. And not only does the money go towards the military itself, but it goes towards military negotiations with other countries.
Yes, but the United States spends twice as much as the next 10 countries that have high military spending, and half of them are our allies.
I can explain in detail why.
Go, tell me, do it.
Is it the industrial military complex?
That's a chunk of it. Yeah. Have you ever heard of the USS John C. Stennis?
No.
It's an aircraft carrier, nuclear aircraft carrier.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Yeah. It's a Nimitz class. There's 11 of them. I think 10 currently. The Ford class is coming out soon with the flagship USS Gerald Ford.
Keep those.
You know how much an aircraft? Yeah, an aircraft carrier for the United States is a shade under 1,000 feet long. It has about 5,000 people on board, including a one-star admiral. And I know that at one point, the John C. Stennis was pulling into Pearl Harbor after a deployment. They had been out on an exercise in the Western Pacific. And they got a call, that admiral got a call, who said, hey, you need to get to an area called the Straits of Hormuz right now. Yeah. And if you are a geography nerd like me, the Straits of Hormuz is the gap between Iran and the United Arab Emirates at the entrance to the Persian Gulf. It's one of the most heavily fortified stretches of water on Earth, because every ounce of Arab oil goes through there.
It's aquatic Fort Knox.
Oh, there's like 9 or 10 countries pointing various weapon systems at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
whenever one match dropped.
Here's the thing, though.
Why do we need to spend trillions on military spending?
Do you know how much it costs to maintain one aircraft carrier?
A lot of money.
It's the amount of water that ship displaces is 100,000 tons. So the hull in the water, it's massive. 5,000 people, 2 nuclear reactors, 70 odd aircraft. So
it's worth about 70,000.
I don't know, man, because like Russia has a military budget of $65 billion a year, and
here's
they've
the thing,
got
though: the United States is the police
just
for the world. The John C. Stennis went from Hawaii to the Straits of Hormuz in 3 days.
Sorry, who elected America to protect the world? Because
literally everyone else,
not me.
Yeah,
not my country.
NATO,
we didn't send troops to Iraq.
Here's another example. You ever heard of the Reforger exercises? Return of forces to Germany. It was an annual exercise held in the United States to practice deploying divisions to West Germany in case the Soviets invaded. That's not cheap. When you consider like the equipment that we carry. So I carried 140 pounds of kit in Afghanistan. My chest armor alone weighed about 25 kilos. Just the armor on my upper torso. Plus fire-resistant uniforms, night vision optics, ballistic helmet, rifle, pistol, hydration system, the training to use all of it, medical equipment.
Those are not available to the public. So
a lot of it actually is. A lot of it is.
Really? Isn't it like but it's the baby version though. It's like the baby's first.
It's not cheap.
It's like baby's first kind of edition. It's
not I could put together about by volume about 1/3 of my equipment from the military in the civilian market. The trick is the rest of that is military only because it was intelligence collection equipment.
Yeah,
I worked in an intelligence team, so about 50 kilos of my kit is legitimately classified. You can't buy that online on just from Amazon. But it's myself, my 3 teammates, an interpreter, the logistical supplies to carry all of that over to Afghanistan to sustain our presence there. And it wasn't just us. At that time, I think there was about 20, 30,000 Americans in Afghanistan. And that was after we cut down our footprint and we're rolling around in 30-ton up-armored vehicles that can take an explosion. Like they have a V-shaped hull. The foot rests are not on the floor. My seat was suspended from the ceiling, so the blast from an IED would not be traveled through into my body. It would go through the frame of the vehicle. Like this is not cheap. And all of the thousands of people who just make it all keep running. There's something called the tooth to tail ratio. Is there the amount of people in the teeth and the amount of people in the tail? And for the United States military, it's about like 19-1. So out of every 20 people in the million people in the U.S. Army, out of every 20, one of them is a trigger puller. So you're talking everything from Rangers, Special Forces, Delta, line infantry guys, artillery, armor, fucking air defense artillery. The guys who shoot down enemy aircraft, they're considered combat arms because their job is to directly kill the other guys.
So I was wondering,
is 19 other people like me.
So like I had a friend whose dad was in the Vietnam War, and I remember his dad telling me a story that he was standing out in the desert, and suddenly some new fighter jet flew overhead, and I think it was like black, I can't remember the name of it, but it was like
an F-117.
I don't know, but just some jet. And the public didn't know about this jet. It wasn't public information until like 30 years later. So is the United States developing technology that we can only dream of, because it's 30 years behind, such as cloaking technology or some sort of fucking
that's all on DARPA and like the SR-71 Blackbird jet. It's made out of fucking titanium. We bought the titanium from Russia through a shell company to build a plane to spy on Russia. That's literally.
Do you know any military secrets that if you told us you would commit suicide in the night?
Or at least
I held a top secret security clearance, so I had access to national secrets that would cause grave damage to the United States if they were divulged.
Hey,
and I would sooner kill myself than give any of that information out.
Oh, okay. One secret I want to know: are traps gay?
That's a decision you can make for yourself.
Damn it!
I don't want this stream to turn into bigotry and hatred.
Into a ball pit.
Yeah. I mean, fucking. Who was it? Crazy. Oh, what was his name? That gamer who. Oh, Total Biscuit. He was
Total Biscuit.
Yeah. That fiesta.
Yeah. So, like, to clarify, I was not one of the cool guys in the military. I had a weird job. I wasn't some kind of fucking special dude. No, I was just a little different from everyone else. My roommate, he's at work right now. He was a truck driver. That was his job in the Army. He was a truck driver. My brother was a parachute rigger. So his job was just pack things up and throw shit out the back of an aircraft. Most of the military,
these roles, do they get veterans discounts or veterans benefits?
I do,
of course.
Like if you just do laundry in the military or something.
You volunteer to serve.
Oh, cool.
Well, it's like a third of the United States population is able to serve in my age group, from 18 to 27. 28% can go. The rest can't. They're out of shape, psychological problems.
Yep. I was just going to say.
You name it.
Psychologically impaired. There we go.
Well, it's like they might have, certain psychiatric issues that would preclude them being able to do their job, to handle the stress. Or they have too much of a criminal record. Or they are like their body can't handle it. It's a hard job.
I want to go ahead
back issues.
I want to go ahead and move the subject over.
Yeah.
So now, what's the idea, or what is y'all's idea on the military using those in prisons to fight for America?
I'm against it.
You mean like a penal legion kind of deal?
Say again.
I think it's a terrible idea.
Like you're in prison, you're gonna go fight?
You're in prison, you've committed a crime, and now you have to go fight. Instead of serving, you can either choose to serve or you choose to stay in prison.
No, absolutely not.
No way.
Really?
And I wouldn't.
No fucking circumstances.
Yeah, I wouldn't even want to go to like the human rights issue on forcing people to go to war. I would just say that, like, with all the war crimes that the United States has committed, it would be so easy for someone who's had a terrible history, who isn't all mentally, sane, to just lose it, have a sort of mental breakdown on the field, shoot up, do something horrific, and it makes the United States military look even worse.
Yeah, I would also jump on for discipline issues. I mean, you're talking about people who most likely have, like, there's a reason why the United States military will outright reject you if you have a felony record.
Fuck, the United States can't. I heard Jordan Peterson say that the United States Army, they won't, it's illegal to induct anyone into the armed forces if they've got an IQ of less than, say, 80 or 75, I think. And the reason, and they draw that conclusion, despite every other reason that they could have for doing it, because they think that with an IQ of that low, there's nothing, you're actually more of a burden on the military as a whole. And that's 10% of the population. That's 10% of the population.
Yep. And guess what? You guys defend us. 10% of us. Yay, they did it!
Yeah, I mean, people think that the military is some kind of like easy, low IQ job. Yeah. People think the military is full of idiots. And yes, I will be the first to say I have met some absolute morons in the Army. Absolute idiots. However, the amount of technical skills needed for each job can be pretty extensive.
So I really want to ask you, like, when you were in the military, how did you know you were on, like, did you have any qualms about whether you were on the right side?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There are things that I'm a part of that I cannot and will not talk about, where I am not entirely certain that I was doing the right thing.
Wow.
I'll say this. I'm a veteran of the drug war. In addition to the war in Afghanistan.
I'm a veteran of the drug war, except I was the one taking.
No,
I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
I was hunting narcos.
What's a narco?
Oh, cool.
No, narco. Narco terrorista, narco terrorist. Yeah. Like Pablo Escobar, fuck that guy. He ain't got shit on some of the people I followed. I recognize the names on some of the treaties. Like on some of the treaties being signed between South American governments and these insurgent groups, I know those names. I remember what their voices sound like. Wow. Like, and there are some instances that happened where I was not the good guy. It was in pursuit of a higher purpose, so I can sleep at night. You know, it was in pursuit of ending what I see to be an evil, not even for the United States, for that country,
and not a necessary evil as well.
Oh, absolute fucking evil.
Mm-hmm.
Like these people would roll into a town, murder most of the adults, and say, "All right, if you're this age or younger, males become soldiers, girls become camp wives.
Mm.
If you resist, we're going to kill you." I witnessed a couple of war crimes.
So going back to psychology a little bit,
all right,
Jacob, how do you you know, can you talk a little bit about PTSD? Like how would you go about treating? I mean, I don't know what you studied in psychology. You could have just been, you know, completely theoretical. But like, I was
really into social psychology because that's where all the big issues. That's where all the big issues are, at least right now. So, you know, I took abnormal. I took a bunch of different ones, but with PTSD, in what aspects are you inquiring about?
You mean like cognitive behavioral therapy?
If you really see some
that's
shit,
my favorite,
like
actually.
How do you go back to you know normal living? You don't. You really don't.
There's no going back. There's no going back. I have PTSD.
At least not entirely. At least not entirely, and you're living proof of that too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like I used to be extremely jumpy, very irritable, nightmares. You think of the classic PTSD symptoms.
You have them.
I had them, like major, you know, depressive incidents. And what I figured out that worked for me, and it's worked for a lot of other people, and it's probably the reason I'm alive, is I told the story.
And group
over
therapy.
And over.
Essentially group therapy.
Yeah. One clinician I spoke to said that I had like self-prescribed cognitive behavioral therapy. Because, you know, PTSD is an anxiety disorder. Your body is
severe
in fight or flight. You're afraid on a subconscious level, but that bleeds through into your conscious. Mm-hmm. And you have to go back through it. Yeah, you have to go back through it over and over and over again. And eventually I don't really understand it, but something in you relaxes. Like I can still be a little jumpy, but it's not, you know, if someone touches me on the shoulder, I punch them in the face. I used to be that way a long time ago. I'm not anymore because I worked through it. And if you think I haven't seen anything compared to friends of mine. Like I know a man who was a combat engineer in the 101st Airborne, and he told me a story about dropping grenades into the hatches of active Iraqi army tanks during OIF 1, the invasion of Iraq in 2003. So he's a light engineer climbing onto active, crewed, in combat enemy tanks and fragging the crews. This guy did route clearance for 3 years, going up and down fucking roads in Iraq, getting blown up.
3 feet away. Yeah.
He is really messed up. Good man. Excellent father. But
has he gone to see any psychologists or groups?
He doesn't like psychologists. And I can understand why. They try to get him to relive it. And it's so awful.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
And it's off topic, I'm sorry, but it's about veterans benefits. Like, why do you think the military personnel should, you know, be able to come home after serving and get a whole load of you know, benefits and I mean, I'm not quite sure what it is, but just the concept. Why isn't that extended to ambulance personnel or doctors or policemen or any other civil servant?
Do you know how often an American veteran immolates themselves in front of a VA clinic? Like, pulls a gas can out of their car and lights themselves on fire. Trying to get help. And they get so frustrated. It's about once every other week.
But like, just on principle, do you think that, we should extend the service to other public servants?
The first trick about the premise of your question is that we really get anything.
But I'm talking about the principle here.
So not right now, it's too hard to even say at this point, really, because like you said, we already don't do what we need to do for the veterans that we have now. There's no way that it would bleed into civilian life at all.
I mean, like the Department of Veterans Affairs, there are multiple hospitals here in the States that kept under wraps waiting lists of patients who were going to get like what their priority was. People died. A lot of people died. Like my roommate is worlds more messed up than me. They've been giving him pills.
So I just want to sort of switch. I kind of want to switch gears a little bit here and sort of talk more about principles. Do you think that someone who is offered work but refuses it should expect society's support? So basically an unemployment benefit. No. We even extend it to those who don't want to work.
If you can work and don't, that's your fault.
So, I mean, I've got a slightly different opinion. Like, I can see, why should I have to pay for this, lounge? But so my kind of argument to this was like, so you're going to have people starving on the streets because they don't want to work, or because they're mentally deranged and they don't quite that. Sorry for using that word, mentally deranged. I don't know if it's quite accurate. But they don't quite meet the requirement of having mental orders or mental disorders to the extent where they are. Hang on. So like, because I've met some people, and the 40-hour work week, like, it just kills them inside. Like, they get home, all they think about is work. They just it feels like someone should have the right to just not be part of the system, but still expect just say $30 so they can buy food and be a complete hippie out in the woods or something.
No.
If you can work and choose not to, you are detracting from the work that everyone else does.
You are making society as a whole unproductive.
Well, here's the thing, Sam. Are you Australian or New Zealander? My memory is not always what it could be.
New Zealander.
You're New Zealander. You have like a version of the NHS.
What in national health? What's the NHS?
In the UK, I know it's the National Health System. I'm assuming that you have something approximately similar.
Yes.
Okay. So, and everybody pays into that for the people.
Wait, you don't have that?
Would be nice.
So
well, I do. I get the VA, but the VA kills people.
Yeah.
No, but in New Zealand, you have the NHS, and everyone gets a bit taken out of their taxes, out of their paycheck every year to contribute. But the thing is, it works because everybody pays into it, but not everyone is using it all the time. And it's the ratio of, so we have, so we got 1,000 people in this city, and 5 or 10 people need to use it on any given week. So you have more people paying into it than who need to use it. I mean, it's what made society happen. Like, you read like Charles Dickens' work of people just getting screwed over by life, but they keep working to provide for themselves and for other people. And it's like, life sucks. It sucks for everybody. What was like 90% of people hate their job?
Yeah.
So,
but suck it up, dude. You're helping literally everyone else. That's why we can afford welfare programs.
But like, wouldn't you say that, it says a lot about a society that doesn't let anyone, they don't just have people out on the streets, for example. I mean, what if you're off? So like, because here's the thing, like, you could be, I'll give a personal example well, I won't actually, but I know someone. She's a 60-year-old lady.
Yeah.
She's run a business for her life. She's had kids. She's been a committed person to society, but now she actually got a drunk driving conviction, and now it's very hard for her to find any kind of work. And as a middle class, or middle upper class lady, the thought of working at sort of like a McDonald's, window would be degrading for her.
Yeah.
And it's like, if putting yourself in the shoes of someone who's, elderly and they don't want to be at like a Walmart greeter, if that's the only options that are out there, I kind of feel a bit like.
But wouldn't they just go into retirement? Because the way the retirement system works in New Zealand if it's based off of the NHS, then the payment that you have should go into retirement funds for the elderly, correct? Or do you have cutoff ages for the elderly for retirement?
We have something. We've got a system called KiwiSaver, and what it is, you volunteer to pay money into it throughout your life, and then the government, lets you access that money, and it's a high interest income, so it's like an investment kind of. The government allows you to access that money once you retire.
I mean,
so why doesn't she retire?
Sorry.
Why doesn't she just retire if work is too much? Because if she's at 56, or if she's almost 60, 65 is usually in America the retirement age.
Yeah, we just raised it to 75.
Oh,
so
wow.
She's got a lot more than that.
Yeah, our fucking right-wing national government, they said, well, since people are living 10 years longer now than they used to when we made the retirement age should reflect that.
Fuck.
I mean,
so 75 and working.
I mean, I can understand this woman's position of you made a mistake, most likely an honest mistake. I'm going to assume it was essentially an accident, and she's being discriminated against because she made a mistake. That's not right.
Now,
I think that's messed up.
I want to contribute to this. In Texas, you can go through certain legal systems to have it expunged from your record. Either you go through a test. You go through the legal system properly, and of course, you pay a little bit of a shitload of money, and then you have it expunged from your record.
Yeah, she might have some recourse for that, or at least I hope she would, some kind of way to get it out from, resting on her shoulders, because that sucks. I mean, what I would say is, if you are capable of work and choose not to,
no help for you. That's it.
It's why should I help you if you will not help yourself? Whereas if you have, if you lost a leg in a car crash, or you have a legit mental disorder and you can't work, or I don't know, whatever, but if you have a legit reason, and if you can get a doctor to say, yeah, this guy or this person is not going to function in the corporate world, if they can't, like the deaf, the legally deaf here in the US, the legally deaf are entitled to be cared for by the state, because for them to find work is extremely difficult.
I have a deaf friend.
Yeah, me too. One of my friend's sister.
So I've got another question.
If you can and don't, I'm sorry, I just don't have sympathy for you.
Yeah.
Well, if you can and do, great. That's fucking awesome.
I don't want to push this. I want to go ahead and jump into. Sargon said that he's actually for universal health care. I'm actually against that, and so I want to do a little bit of explaining first. So I have a congenital heart defect, so I would most likely benefit from the social health care system, but I choose not to. I've had 2 panic attacks in the last 2 years. I'm deaf on my left side, so I'm perfectly qualified for disability services, but I have never ever chosen to take them, because I've always tried to work my way into the system correctly, because I don't like the way that if someone takes care of me, then I can just slack off the whole time, and if I slack off the whole time, I don't improve as a person. So that's
interesting that because in my country and in Australia and in I think most of the developed world, we've got like a basic healthcare system. Whereas if you get really hurt, like if you're actually wounded and you can't afford it, you're not going to be bankrupt. And yes, we look after. Wait, so if you're born with like a birth, I mean, I don't know if you were born with it, sorry, but if you're born with like a congenital heart disease, you have to pay for your like medication and your treatment yourself.
Fucked here. Here you get
really.
It depends what insurance you're a part of. Right now, we're part of a kind of shitty insurance policy right now. It depends. Again, that's why there's a free market to choose which insurance you choose to be a part of. I've never really chosen to even apply for government disability insurance.
So, I mean, this sort of, you know, you get to choose your insurance that, you know, and it's a free market. I don't really understand that line of thinking because, you know, sure, the free market is great if you want to choose the right car that you want to buy or the right piano you want to buy. But some things shouldn't be on the, you know, for example, I don't want to have to, you know, I don't want to have to spend my life choosing which fucking garbage collection company picks up my garbage or which mail company I send my mail with. You know,
that's already decided. That's already decided. So the way with the health with civil service healthcare systems work is so the way that I've been explained to by my parents is there's two main options for insurance where you pay a little bit out of pocket and the insurance company pays a majority of it, or you pay a majority of it and the insurance pays off a little bit of it. But every so often, after a certain amount of time or a certain amount of payments, the insurance will more than likely cover most of the cost of the insurance or the damage or what have you.
The issue with the American medical care system is we said, all right, basic concept. Everybody, you know, pays in to a company of their choosing, and the companies will self-regulate against each other. I know that immediately sounds massively stupid.
No, it doesn't. It sounds like something that will work in principle, but doesn't.
In principle, it does. So what ended up happening is the same thing here as what happened with telecommunications. Is each of these companies said, all right, so Aetna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Humana, we're going to carve out little areas for ourselves. So like here, it's the Scott and White group of hospitals. I don't know what the like primary provider is here, but like there's one internet provider for this area, for the Fort Hood, Killeen, Temple, Coppers Cove, Harker Heights metropolitan area with I'm pretty sure it's probably 500,000 people in this area or more. There's one internet provider that's actually worth picking. The rest are abysmal. So you have like micro monopolies. Like where I grew up in San Diego, California, Kaiser Healthcare.
But that's you actually raised a good point with the ISP providers. Like there's one company that's a good deal and the rest of them are all shit. It's kind of the same thing that's happening here. And the thing is, these other companies, you know, they exist because people don't want to spend their time sorting through, how much data do I get? How much phone calling do I get? How many texts can I send? Like they just want a fucking phone service, and they don't want to have to sort through a catalog of ISPs. And it just seems something with healthcare. Like, so why not have like a basic system so that if you're horrendously hurt in an accident or if you're born with like a birth defect, you know, you can get subsidized from that. And, you know, in your day-to-day life, like if you've got a toothache or if you've, you know, fucked up your shoulder, you can just go to the doctor and pay $40 and get a checkup. So it's kind of like there's a private healthcare system and a basic public one.
I would actually advocate for that as well, is a government level system in parallel with the capitalist, for lack of a better term, system. So it's, you can sign up for the federal one and the government version. So it's not as fancy. You might not get anything you need, but at least for basic care, you're okay. So it's like, if I need new glasses or a dental cleaning, I can get that. Whereas, like, if I need, you know, an electrocardiograph or an MRI, I'm going to have to pay a little bit for it. But it's I would advocate for is so what you end up with is like in this area where I'm at is, you know, I live in a very low income neighborhood. I hear gunfire every day. The apartment building next to mine burnt down. The other one across the street is infested with drug dealers. I live in a bad neighborhood. Hence the gun rack on the wall right next to me and the pistol on my kitchen table. I live in a bad neighborhood, but these people cannot afford most healthcare options in this area. They just can't. There's like several million people in the US who they're out of luck. They can't afford it. Period.
And there's also like
100, 200 a month. So if
there's also the issue of like pouring lava onto a fire to extinguish the fire. For example, in America, 100 million people either have type 2 diabetes or they're pre-diabetic. That's a third of the population.
Yep.
To treat someone, or the medication and to treat the treatment of type 2 diabetes costs, I think it was $16,000 a year or $600,000 over their lifetime. And so it's a lot, and times that by 100 million. And, you know, you can say, well, that's such a big cost, you know, and type 2 diabetes is fully preventable. What do you think of the government, you know, coming in, stepping in and saying, okay, hold on, we need to, you know, increase the price of sugar. We need to tax it more.
I think you should have the right to fuck up your own life. If you wanted to destroy yourself, I'm an alcoholic smoker.
You smoke drugs.
I will admit that.
Yeah, I'm a smoker. But here's the thing though. When it gets to the state when there's like vending machines in schools, if a kid chooses to buy a Coca-Cola and he does that every second day, you know, at what point does it stop being a choice and become sort of like a addiction, a habit? Yes.
That's a big thing.
I would say is from when you reach the age of majority here in the US, which is 18. From 18 on, you have the right to fuck up your life.
Yep.
Because you're an adult. Before then, no. When you're a minor and you don't have the legal rights that an adult does, no, society should try to at least not let you destroy yourself.
Yeah.
Once you turn 18, go nuts. As long as you're not hurting someone. If you want to sit in your freaking basement and wank yourself dry every day and just do nothing, that's your fault. That's not my fault.
Yeah.
If you're a kid, though,
it shouldn't be up to me or anyone else to get you out of your own slump that you yourself have put yourself into. Unless you're born into it, then that's a different story. But by your own volition, what?
However, if you ask for help, if you say, hey, my life sucks and I want to do better, I think society should say, all right, I'll help you. I'm not going to hold your hand the entire way.
Yeah.
But I'll give you a hand.
This is the Ben Shapiro response. He said that, you know, someone messaged him saying, they said, I'm a single mother. My mother was a single mother. I was born into a horrible culture. I'm expecting I'm expecting a child in like 3 months or something. I've got no future ahead of me. What do I do? And Ben Shapiro's answer was like, well, just go to your church. Find people in your community to help you.
Yeah.
And it seems like, you know, you can advocate for government policies that can help you. But, you know, I mean, I am sort of sympathetic. Like, I went to a church for the first time in 2 years, like last week or something. And I was amazed at the generosity of the people there. And so I do understand the small government argument because people generally look after other people in their vicinity.
Yep. That's why we have charities so often in America. Charity is a big, instead of healthcare, a lot of people turn to charity and they fucking work. Like they work. If you get 16 people and they each contribute $100, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and also looking at like Patreon and like YouTubers who have their audience pay for them through Patreon.
Yeah,
but people actually want to donate money to a good cause.
Yeah,
or it's hard to do that when you think, oh, well, they're getting a government check, so why would I give them money?
There's a guy in India, and he worked in his town. I don't remember exactly where, even his name, but his thing was he did microloans. So you're talking like $100, $200, maybe $500 at the most. And he created this gigantic banking industry, like a subsection of India's banking industry about microloans. And what was found out is those loans got repaid more frequently than any other type of loan in the country. And we're talking India. They've got a gigantic financial sector.
That's
you
why
got what, a billion people, and he had higher repayment rates, and people started clawing themselves out of debt and into better lives with these little loans. And it's like, that's a system that I would love to see here in the States, or even try to make it. I have no idea where I'd even start, but just microloans is like, I can loan you $100 at a non-extortionate interest rate. And just pay me back. And what you end up with is people who just need a little bit. They don't need $4,000 like my bank offers. I think it's the minimum loans. Or I don't need that much. I just need enough money to pay for gas and food so I can go to work.
You know,
getting a check.
There was this really amazing story. I want to tell it actually. And I want to tell it right. This guy, you know, was being scammed by this Nigerian prince. And so he replied to these messages. He was saying, "Hey, look, I know the circumstance you're in." And somehow he worked with this guy. And he eventually got to the stage where, you know, he was talking to this guy so frequently, he actually did send him money and a camera. And he asked the guy to send him back photos and you know, evidence of what he spent the money on. And this guy, you know, went to a local shop and brought a whole load of school bags for some kids. And it's like, wow, you know, this, you know,
one guy.
One guy made such a big difference in the world.
Yeah, I've seen that. He sells the pictures in America, and the money he makes from the pictures, he sends back to the dude. So essentially, he's like a middleman making the money for the dude.
Yeah.
We were talking about politics earlier and all of that. And Sam, I'm going to mostly ask you here because, like, here in the U.S., lobbying, like being a lobbyist, is quote unquote illegal, supposedly. How do you handle it in New Zealand and Australia? Are lobby groups even like allowed? Because here they're massive financial institutions.
I think there's just a limit to the amount you can donate. I think it's just publicly, you know, people just donate money to their political parties. And I mean, New Zealand was voted the least corrupt country. You know, I don't know. I really don't know about New Zealand politics.
You guys have true representation. You guys have true representation in your in not only your party systems but in your social programs as well. If you vote and pay for something, you get that thing that you paid for. Here in America, we pay and we vote for something, and then it changes along the line, or it changes immediately after they get the money.
Yes, and I think in New Zealand as well, there's also, we actually handle corruption, you know, how the public look at it much better. Like, so say for example, a member of parliament from one of the two political parties, you know, they found out by, you know, by the public that, you know, they did some, you know, there was this one lady who, you know, did this giant deal with this Chinese logging company, I think, and then she married him, and then that was seen in New Zealand as sort of like a conflict of interest.
The stones on that one, wow.
Yeah, and it's like, what the political party did, I think, if I can remember correctly, they disassociated themselves from her because it was terrible PR. And it's like people wouldn't look at it, you know, people wouldn't look at someone who was involved in financial crime and then attribute that crime to the entire party. But then I also hear that like the Republicans basically are all bought out by big tobacco and big.
Our entire political system, like seeing that happen here in the States, we wouldn't have Congress anymore. It would evaporate. Everyone gets bought and paid for here. Everybody gets bought.
Do you guys know, you know, about what Chris Christie has done in his career?
He's done a lot of shit. You gotta be.
But here's the thing: if Chris Christie, you know, lived within 200 kilometers of me, there would be riots. People would not want this guy representing him. And it seems like, has America become desensitized to corruption, where they just kind of think, well, it's it's happening in Washington D.C. It's happening so far away. I don't really have much control of it. Like, is America too big as a nation?
I don't believe so completely. Like, there's a very big semblance of it, but I don't think it's. We definitely have the ability, resources, and people to change, but we don't have the motivation.
I think, like, we make movies about corruption.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
That film, Gangs of New York. If you ever watch it, it's entirely about corruption.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've made so many movies about people dodging the system, skirting the system, and getting what they want. And we hear about it all the time. Like, even back in the 1890s and early 1900s under President, whoever the guy was before President Roosevelt, like, we had presidents who actively permitted corruption to happen. And
like Nixon is like the biggest story ever.
Oh, yeah. Well, Nixon was political stupidness, but I'm talking like financial sector and legislation. Like, people have been taking pot shots at Ted Cruz because he's gotten like $400,000 from the NRA or some ridiculous amount of money.
That and
but here's the thing: people are just way too tribal. Like, they're too partisan. Like, when Obama left office, he got he was paid like $200,000 from Wall Street at a speech he gave straight after his presidency, and it's like, why can't people just like look at their own side and sort of do some home maintenance?
The reason
rather
why
than look at the other side and look at their corruption and say, you're doing it more, you're worse.
Well, like, here in the United States, we have this. The way the system works in practice is that politicians can get fired by the lobby groups who pull their funding, because the lobby groups pay for advertising. Mm-hmm. That's where all of their advertising revenue comes from, is from lobby groups. So the lobby group says, all right, I'm going to give you $200,000 and pay for your next vacation wherever you want to go. I don't care what you're doing. You could go to Thailand and do drugs and, touch little children. I don't care. As long as you run this set of messages that we want you to run. Like Lockheed Martin, if you know who that company is, they're making the F-35, the most expensive military acquisitions project in the history of mankind.
Yeah.
It's over $1 trillion now and growing, and the fucking things will light themselves on fire before they take off.
Yeah, I heard about that. It was a failed jet program. And it's like, what the fuck?
It hasn't
you
failed.
Need more jets?
It's still being built. It is still being built.
Yeah.
Really?
They haven't killed it yet. We're trying to sell it to you, Sam, and Australia, and the British, and the Canadians, and like 12 other countries. But it's being built in 46 states. 46 out of 50 states are building it. So nobody's willing to kill it because they all said, we're going to bring jobs here, because Lockheed Martin said, hey, we'll build a factory for this fucking microchip in your district.
And I kind of think that, I might be going a bit too conspiratorial here, but whenever everyone on the internet, like, if you enter a political discourse on the internet, it's basically just either trashing social justice warriors or, basically it's a shit show. And it's like, no one's really talking about policy substance. And I would not be surprised if there really was some Bilderberg group in America, some, interest that was like, well, let's just distract these people. Let's get them all talking about Trump and how bad he is while we go and sort of manufacture consent on our side.
I would say you're giving people way too much credit.
How so?
Well, like, you look at Donald Trump and people talk about Trump's agenda. Look at Trump's grammar when he tweets at 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah, he's winging it.
He has no fucking idea what he's doing.
Did you hear the story? Did you hear the story of how he became like a anti-establishment figure? Like he had President Reagan's campaign manager meet with him, and Donald Trump kept trying to hire him. He kept saying, I want you to work for me on my campaign, and this guy didn't really want to, but to sort of get himself out of that situation and maintain ties with Trump and keep that door open. He said, well, look, you're a billionaire, you're very rich. Why don't you run an anti-establishment agenda? You say, I won't take your money, I'm a man of the people. You'll get a lot more you'll get a lot more fame and population out of it. And Trump just sat there for a minute and he said, I love it. Let's do that. And it's like, I'm sure he was winging it. And, people do say, oh, he's clever in some business sense. But I'm quite in favor of what Sam Harris said about Trump. And he said, people are saying that there's some hidden intelligence inside Trump. But, you can just tell that's not true by the way he would say something 3 times and stumble over himself. Like, thoughts are connected in that sense.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick. I want to adjunct to that. So with that, Trump is not a politician at all. And by God, the amount of anxiety he must be feeling, like, I did it. I made it to the top. This is it. Like, that has got to be insane. And you've heard him speak at like on what is it, Celebrity Apprentice and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
All the TV shows. That's exactly how he speaks on that, but more jutted. It's not It's not as scripted. I mean, and the thing is, if you read Fire and Fury, you'll hear, and like Sargon said, and like what the book says, people, his own party fights for his attention constantly. So his attention is constantly drawn between so many different things. And every day it's a war within themselves.
My favorite way to try debunking the whole like Bilderberg group Illuminati thing is I look at my own experience in the armed forces. The US military is one of the best trained, equipped, whatever descriptor you want, military forces in the world. I have seen absolute morons just making it up as they go, trying to figure out what the hell they're doing at senior levels. I'm talking like brigade commanders. You've got 4,000 or 5,000 people under you, and you have no fucking clue what you're doing. These are bird colonels.
Yeah,
these are senior officers, and they have no fucking clue what they're doing.
So when I say the Bilderberg group, I don't mean like an organized society. I just basically mean the concept that the rich want to get richer. And
yeah,
of course,
yeah, and
I just don't think people can organize themselves that well and keep that secret for that long. We couldn't keep it a secret that we had nukes in Nebraska.
No, well, I actually disagree. I disagree with you
that he was getting his dick sucked in the White House.
No, I disagree with you.
We couldn't keep that secret.
Well, here's the thing. That the Catholic Church was seen as there were conspiracy theories that it was, a lot of the priests were pedophiles. And for a long time, that was just, that was a flat earth theory. That was like, what? You think there's a pedophile organization in the Catholic Church? And it turns out there was. Well, so it doesn't seem that unconceivable to me. That two opposing companies, would work together to try and monopolize the earth. And they're probably doing it because they think that some other group of companies is trying to form a new world order. And they're trying to stop a new world order. And they are creating a new world order sorry?
It's the scale of it. Like, if you're talking about people, like, look at our national leaders. Half of them fucking hate each other. Like,
there's no way.
How do you know?
Constantly...
How do you know? Honestly, because
they talk shit about each other relentlessly.
That doesn't mean hold on. That could be just a PR stunt. Like, look at Hillary Clinton and Trump.
No way
they were friends. They met up at parties, and then when the election happened, Donald Trump shat on Hillary, and Hillary Clinton said, "Well, this man is mentally unstable." And then, as soon as it was all over, Trump, said, I'm not going to persecute her, even though he said he would lock her up during the second debate.
No, be quiet.
I mean, the thing is...
I'm sorry. I didn't mean...
In any endeavor keeping a secret, the more people know about it and the more time that secret is maintained, the higher the probability that it will be found out.
Yep.
There are mathematical game theory functions that you can do. Like, you can do the math. I mean, it's all calculus that's vastly beyond me, but some secrets you can't keep. People talk about aliens. People talk about, we've got aliens in the New Mexico desert. I'm like, Do you really think some guy isn't going to get drunk as hell in Alamogordo, New Mexico, and tell a stripper, and someone next to him is going to hear it too, and someone else is going to hear him? Because he's bragging. He has special knowledge that no one else has.
Yeah.
Like, the fucking guy who shot bin Laden wrote a book about it. That guy was SEAL Team 6, people who technically don't exist in the U.S. military. He wrote a book about it. We made a movie about it. Zero Dark Thirty. Like, people love lording over that they have special knowledge. And if we're talking about something like a new world order, it's part of human nature that we want to enjoy showing that we have power. We're special. We want to be special. We want to stand out. Yeah. So it's like, hey, I know this really cool shit that you don't know about, and I'm going to tell you a little bit. And it's like, do you really think that anything of a scale of building the new world order, that by now we wouldn't have proof?
Well, here's the thing that I would say about the New World Order. I mean, the entirety of it could just be a coincidence that it is now cheaper to trade on the global market with another country than it is to invade that other country for their resources. And then over time, as countries, as nations become much more trade orientated and not conflict orientated, we basically will have a new world order, but we're just trading with each other.
Well, I actually want to add on to you, John, real quick. We're also in the technological age, and we just recently had the fake nuclear attack on Hawaii.
Yeah, the guy hit a button wrong. He hit the wrong button.
Yeah.
That wasn't true. There was a news story that came out about 2 weeks later. Let's say he didn't actually press the wrong button.
It wasn't quite the wrong button, but the system was so poorly designed that an accidental alarm was sent out saying this is not a drill when it should have been.
Yeah, and the thing is, not only that, but they didn't. Japan immediately came out 5 minutes later or an hour later. Within the same day, they came out and said, "Oh, it's not real. Everyone get back up. It's fine." But in Hawaii, it took them over 3 days to even come up with the full. Okay, so what's the story, guys?
What happened?
Fuck this up.
Yeah.
Hey, did you guys watch Saigon of Akkad's video on the Las Vegas shooter?
Yes, I did.
I mean, there were a lot of holes in that story. That
is the way Las Vegas is designed. I can tell you that right now. If not, it is a pure coincidence that there was another shooter that we did not catch, because it doesn't make sense.
I mean, but the point, I suppose, is you were in the military. You must have heard of those those conspiracy theories that turned out to be true. Like, wasn't there some instance when the America really did do a false flag operation and bomb their own troops?
Not that I'm aware of.
I mean, that was Joe Rogan was talking about it. It was declassified.
Well, also Joe Rogan, he has all kinds of people on. I can't keep up with him. I just don't have I don't have enough hours in the day to keep up with Joe Rogan. I don't think Joe Rogan can even keep up with himself. The man is so goddamn busy. But
yeah.
I mean, the people I knew at the military, especially in the intelligence community and senior leaders, it's part of our national mentality that if I'm going to kill you, you're gonna know it. We sailed a bunch of boats. We sailed a bunch of boats across a frozen river in the middle of the night to kill Germans on Christmas.
Yep.
That's that great famous picture of George Washington, the painting of him in the boat. That's exactly what happened.
Yep.
We sailed and they had a little bit of warning, but they knew we were going to come. They didn't believe it. They're like, this is impossible. That's why we landed in Normandy.
Oh my God, it happened.
The United States, it's part of our national identity that if we're going to hit you for something, we're going to be direct about it more often than not. It's
no games, and it's going to happen.
We don't do blunt. We correction. We do blunt. We suck at being subtle. We're terrible at it. It's something China does wonderfully, and Russia too. They're excellent at being subtle. We don't. We can't do it. We need to be flashy and crazy and weird and noisy. So, like, even when we fail spectacularly. Have you ever heard of the Desert One incident? You heard about that? Okay, so Desert One was an attempted rescue operation for the Americans in Tehran when the embassy was taken.
Yes, got it. Okay, I remember.
So it was the first time that the the organization known as Delta. Now I think they're called something else. I'm going to call them Delta. Delta tried to do a rescue operation. We ended up burning down a C-130 aircraft in this random strip of fucking desert in Iran. It was the refuel point. And we accidentally burned out a helicopter hit a cargo aircraft. This is not a small aircraft. Lit it on fire. That aircraft was carrying fuel bladders, so it goes up like a fucking candle. Like 6 people died, and we had to get the hell out of there, and a bunch of Iranian civilians saw it. Like, if we fail spectacularly. But if we have a victory, we do it spectacularly. The whole like undercover skullduggery false flag thing, it's really not in like the national mentality.
I was just looking up. Yeah, it's not in the national mentality, but I looked up this Operation Northwoods, and it was a proposed false flag operation against the Cuban government that originated within the U.S. Department of Defense. And what did they do? U.S. government operatives committed acts of terrorism against American civilians and military. I'm reading straight from Wikipedia, by the way. American civilians and military targets, blaming it on the Cuban government. So that is basically a small-scale 9/11.
Yeah, that time, the 1960s and the 1970s, so it's also the civil rights movement when that was going on. That was a really dark period for the American intelligence agencies, particularly the CIA and the NSA. After that, a bunch of human rights violations and legit law breaking was discovered by the Church and Pike committees in the late 70s and early 80s. And like a bunch of people had to stop and realize, like, what the hell have we done?
Yes. So doesn't that change your burden of proof element? Like, wouldn't you look at what they would say now and just take it with a grain of salt because of those times?
Ooh, that was a half century ago. Like those guys are all old and retired.
Doesn't matter. They're still alive. I mean, it's the same. You know, it's not that long ago in the broad scheme of human.
I mean, even if you're talking about someone who they showed up, day one at the farm.
Well, hang on a minute. There are still Nazis alive in Germany. So would you say that also wouldn't that also attribute to them as well, since they screwed up royally?
No, because those guys
are almost all dead though.
Yeah, and those people were prosecuted after World War II. Like the actual.
I'm sure a lot of people went to jail for what they did.
Yeah. I mean,
or were otherwise defrocked and like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like they were told, like, you're done. You're gonna fly a desk until you retire. There's a lot of those people. A lot of that I'm sure happened as well.
A desk.
Yeah.
Never heard that phrase ever.
You're gonna sit here and shuffle paperwork for some guy, and you're pretty much your job is gonna make this guy coffee and tell him when someone called him. That's gonna be your job until you quit. They do that to senior people in the military all the time. You had authority? Not anymore. You have no authority over anybody, not even yourself. You take someone who has. No, sometimes it's hilarious. You take someone who has real power and take all of it away from them. It's wonderful to watch. All right. Is there anything else we need to talk about? You want to keep this going, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm keen to keep going if you guys are, but to you, really?
You guys want to add anybody? Like,
yeah, I've been on the chat.
Yeah,
kind of. I mean, I thought you were going to bully Sargon into hanging out with us for a little bit.
I sent him a message with a link to this chat. I don't think.
I kind of doubt it. He'd need to see like a bunch of people talking about it or something. He's not going to just jump into a bunch of plebes.
Yeah,
he's a celebrity, don't you know?
I mean, if he wants to be a part of the cool kids, he'd join all the cool kids.
There's a couple of people who've been like, "Oh, you're these guys," and like, I disagree with a lot of things that Carl Benjamin says. Like, there's a lot of things that I would, in the moment, have ripped him apart for.
I would like to see that because I only disagree with him on the social healthcare thing.
There's a few things. I mean, I don't have like a list of things that I think are bullshit that he said written down anywhere. Like, I'm not that organized.
No, I kind of disagree with Sargon on his whole narrative. Like, if you look at his earlier videos, basically he was screaming at feminists in his earlier videos and going basically berserk. And it's not that I disagree with him on that, but like, you know, especially during the election, he didn't really talk with any nuance. He didn't really. It was very black and white. I'm explaining this horribly, but like, I mean, he didn't really concede that there actually is, you know, probably a lot of bigotry against, you know, minorities. I mean, he went on about, you know, how white people are being oppressed, and he never really said, you know, this, you know, I'm saying this not because I think there, you know, is less he never really said, you know, discrimination against the people oppressing you. Oh, fuck it, never mind. I can't really explain.
Oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
It's the oppressed right to hate the oppressor.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like he went on about dumb college kids so many times, but he didn't really, you know, pick apart, you know, right-wing Christian fucking bullshit. Those
because it's already
really ultra-conservative guys.
That's over. I mean,
I think a lot of times what a mistake Carl makes, trying to do an honest critique, is sometimes he'll kind of gloss over a topic and not really give it the attention it deserves.
Yes.
Yeah.
In addressing.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, basically.
That's one thing. And also sometimes he falls into kind of a binary A or B, you versus me mentality, which I can understand why he does it, because that's not as difficult to do as actually sitting down and breaking it down. That's what
he's also been pushed into as well. You also have to remember he's still in that legal battle with Tequila, obviously.
Yeah. I mean,
what legal battle?
Akila obviously is a YouTuber, and she is an SJW who got to work with Hillary during the election.
You mean Anita Sarkeesian?
No. Akila, obviously, she's a black girl.
I missed that one.
She got to hang. Let me.
I'll take it your word. I'll look it up later.
What's the lawsuit about?
Yeah.
So he took a video of hers from the night of the election when Hillary lost, and so it's like, oh, this is what happened, blah blah blah. And Sargon took snippets of her video and basically strung it all together like, oh, this is what you get for doing this to yourself. And he didn't provide any commentary or anything.
Yeah.
And so she struck his video for what's a
copyright claim?
Yeah, a copyright claim.
Fair use.
And the thing is, he's actually in the right, because the way that he frames it. Yeah, I see your eyebrow raising about it. Yeah, he framed her argument as, oh, poor me, poor me, poor me. It was only like a minute long out of a 10-minute video.
Yeah,
like it was. The way that he frames it.
Yeah,
I think
the accusation was like misrepresentation.
I think there's a ratio that you have to follow. Like if you show, if you show, in the discussion about this topic, if you show someone's video and then you have a discussion about it, at least 70% of this, content has to be the discussion. Like you can only show an amount of footage equivalent to the amount that you talk about it, or something like that. Like, isn't that the case?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Sargon also talks about cultural Marxism, and I think he makes way bigger deal of it than it really is. But I don't know, because I don't live in the United States.
Yeah, he really should get a dual citizenship for America, in my opinion, just because he talks a lot about America. You know, like he has very good knowledge of what he's talking about. I mean, he's not a complete idiot on things, but he misses, like you said, he glosses over things. He doesn't accurately represent his own ideas entirely as he believes them to be. One of my favorite recent things that he did was I want to say it was around New Year's when he was talking about his son, and he said, "I do this because I want to be someone that my son looks up to," and I'm like, that fucking, I got it. That's why he's so bullheaded and harsh and stern and front forward with the way he speaks and why he speaks about these things. Because he doesn't want his son to either fall into it or experience it.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's pretty honorable of the man. I'm curious, do you guys know what he did before YouTube? Who was he before YouTube?
A banker.
Is that what he was?
He was a banker, yeah.
Really?
Well, so how do you know he's not part of some Zionist plot then? To distract us from the real issues.
Oh, well, then I guess he's our goy then.
Yeah, Sargoy.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. It's interesting.
Yeah,
no, he talks about it every once in a while.
Quotes of people talking about him, like the 3 parentheses in each end. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? What was really funny is people started doing it to a guy named Maximilian Uriarte, and he's not really known outside the veteran community, but he's a United States. He was a Marine, did 2 tours in Iraq. He was a machine gunner, and he made a comic strip called Terminal Lance. And it's just military humor, like Beetle Bailey. Yeah, it's a military comic strip, like much like Beetle Bailey. And
my dad actually gave me some of those old comics from Beetle Bailey.
Yeah.
Like I have like 3 or 4 books of them.
Like,
they're really good.
I mean, he might not be like the Beetle Bailey of my generation of veterans, but he's done some excellent work. And
kind of like
like I'm part of my heritage is Jewish.
Yeah,
and
like
a bunch of people just like immediately turned from liking him to hating him because he was a fellow veteran. But like the fact that he was a veteran, people liked him, and the fact that he is legitimately funny. But then it found out some of his ancestry is Jewish. He's like half Jewish, and people would just disown him. They're like, "Nope, we're done. We're not going to be associated with you anymore. We don't like you."
Wow.
Oh yeah.
I don't get that at all. I don't understand how people can not separate the artist from the artwork.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's such a weird thing.
What was I getting at with that? I had a point that I was getting to. Oh, Sargon and the whole like Zionist thing. Like, I think that's all just funny. It's amusing. Yeah. Like, you really need a big bad guy. You need a villain that badly. You're gonna make one up. Like, you're just making shit up at this point with no fucking evidence at all, and you're gonna buy into this like all the fucking way. Like, really? Are you that desperate? Are you that desperate to be oppressed?
Yes, that's. It gets sad at that point.
Like, if you want to be oppressed and you're a white guy, just move to fucking Zimbabwe, okay? Then you can actually legitimately be an oppressed white person.
Was it Zimbabwe where they started killing all the white farmers?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, it was. Because Zimbabwe used to be Rhodesia, which was an apartheid state like South Africa used to be. And Mugabe, like, I've got a couple books about it. Like, Mugabe and his Zanla, I don't know. African political parties confuse me. Like, they won, and it became kind of a black African ethno state.
Yeah,
and they were just murdering white people.
And then
white people and get away with it.
White farmers, they're like, "Oh, a lot of our farms are empty and they're not growing. Please come back.
we need you back, but we might kill you later and not go to prison for it.
Please, we do not know the way."
Oh God. So like, about Sargon, I always thought that he was going after low-hanging fruit. Like, he'd see some, some journalist write some story about some, crap, and I was just like, dude, this guy that you're criticizing has no power. And it's like, but the thing is, I'm just talking in general, like Sargon, I thought went after like some people who really weren't bad. Was it Abby Martin? Like, I've seen some of Abby Martin's work.
Yeah, he does a little bit of that in his
good work, I think. Thing is when the what's the name? Wilfrid Laurier, the
yeah,
you know that scandal. So when that happened,
Inquisition they did, yeah,
yes, and when that happened, I was still thinking, wow, this kind of proves that there is some sort of cultural Marxism, but then what really got me was seeing, I think it was on MSNBC, they had this this black lady, this I think she might have been one of the hosts, or she was a contributor to MSNBC, but she said, why should we regard what this little white girl says? And I just, at that point, I thought, whoa, what happened? How come this is mainstream now, this sort of thinking? It was ridiculous.
What?
Like, you know, that film that came out, I think today here, I think it came out yesterday, the day before in the UK, Black Panther, the superhero movie.
Yeah.
Like people saying white people should not review this because of white privilege. Or white people don't go to watch this movie. This is for black people only.
I mean, I always want to rationalize what they're saying. I mean, I kind of want to think, well, if you're a critic of the movie, I mean, you don't really know the steps. But then you think a movie critic should be objective, and they should have a standard in which to rate movies. So
you know what? I really want to tack on. I really want to like blow this out of the fucking water. So, does anyone here a Star Wars fan at all?
Yes, huge Star Wars fan.
Okay, yeah, fucking hands up on everybody. Did you like any of the new Star Wars movies?
No.
No. The only one I liked was Rogue One, just because it was fun and it was good, and I knew they had to die at the end anyway.
I don't like Rogue One. I didn't like Rogue One. It was fucking stupid.
I liked
Force
it more.
Awakens I was okay with. Force Awakens I was okay with. I was okay with it.
I'm at the opposite end of that.
Only because it had some actual character development. Only reason why. It actually had character development.
I would actually counter that with there's no reason for these people to develop because they're going to fucking die anyway. Because that's how they get the rebel plan.
Rogue One? Fuck that movie.
Yeah.
Fuck
what?
That movie. Yep.
What?
Makes no fucking sense. The entire plot makes no sense.
Is Rogue One the spin-off?
Rogue One, there is one mildly redeeming character, which is K2SO the robot.
Yeah,
and it's Darth Vader too. The Darth Vader scene is like
the Darth Vader scenes were excellent. Whereas like them resurrecting Peter Cushing in CGI, they didn't need to do that. They had a guy playing Darth Vader who was a straight fucking savage and chokes people when he gets annoyed at them. Yeah. Everything they did with Tarkin they could have dropped that, brought out Darth Vader, not developed all that bullshit technology they didn't need, cut a few $1 million out of their budget, and it would have been exactly the same.
They also changed some of the costume designs as well. They changed the costume designs for some of the stormtroopers and everything. The ships were new. There's no point. That's no. Go back. No, this is in between 3 and 4. You don't need all these new ships.
Nope.
Exactly.
And the one other thing there's one thing about Rogue One that I really like, other than Darth Vader and the snarky robot, which is the battle at the end.
Yes.
That's the only legit part of the film that makes sense. It's everyone's dying. The battle over that planet. Get me a hammerhead. What they did, that's how insurgents fight.
Yes.
Like the whole...
You guys, episode 7 just basically used the plot line of episode 4.
I don't mind that.
I don't mind that either.
4, 5, and 6 is the step-by-step, I'm going to walk this dog through the hero's journey.
Yep.
Like, the Epic of Gilgamesh is written that way. The Odyssey and the Iliad are written that way. Lord of the Rings is written that way.
Yeah, but here's all
the same.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Hello.
What's up, Ben?
Hey, Ben.
But here's the thing, though. Like, fuck, I can't even describe it now. But like,
yeah, we're talking about the new Star Wars films post the prequels and how they're.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Okay.
He's on board.
So like,
I
heard that like in the new episode, like episode 8 or something, they made the bad guys like, instead of having just like a sort of colonialist English sort of speech and sort of vibe, they've got like Asian women and stuff just sitting at the desks at those computers. And I'm not against it because there's Asian women in it, obviously.
Like
I'm
Vice Admiral Gender Studies?
Diversity hiring.
Hey, real quick, do you mind if we take like 5 minutes? Or maybe 10, like...
Who lightsabers a rainbow?
I drank way too much water and I'm dying for a cigarette, and I don't want to drag this outside with me to where I smoke.
Yeah, no, that's
so,
cool.
Do we want to take a break real quick?
5:21, come back at 5. Well,
yeah, I actually wouldn't mind having a
minutes.
smoke as well. So 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
5:40. Hey, have us at 5:40.
Someone
5:40.
spin up. Yeah. So someone spin up. If you're all going to be here, spin up the gentleman who just joined, Ben, on what the topic was.
Wait.
So,
how
fill
long,
me in.
how long are you guys going to go for? Like how many minutes?
About
Bathroom and cigarette.
20 minutes.
I'll have a cigarette as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Okay.
I'll be right back. Let me mute my mic here.
Cool. Keep
All right,
the audience entertained. Bye.
All right, cool. Let's see.
So, fill me in.
How you doing?
What's up?
We're talking about how shitty the Star Wars movies are.
So, here's my opinion.
All right, go.
I thought at least the premise of the sequels was kind of cool. It was just implemented so badly.
Yep. Agreed. So, did you like Rogue One at all?
Oh, I mean, it was okay.
It was okay. Did you like it better? I actually liked it better than both movies. There were a lot of problems with it, but you can see where this would be going, because that means that I fucking hated the new movies. Did you see the new one?
No, I skimmed on it.
Oh my god. You have to watch it to hate it, man. It's
okay.
God.
See, my problem with the last couple films is pretty much exactly the same as the first three, the original trilogy.
Oh, okay. I actually really like the original. So the original trilogy is good. The prequel series I thought was still really good, even though it had the most flaws of the two immediate series.
So, yeah, I can understand. I mean, personally, my favorite of I lost. My personal favorite of the prequels would be Episode 3.
Me too. It had a lot of problems, but just the way that it played out probably was the best part about the movie itself.
You know, I would say most fascinating character in the prequels would probably be Palpatine.
How so?
I guess his, just how he managed to put himself into power, how he was able to become counselor. It was just...
People say the politics of the prequels was shitty. I actually, even as a kid, I really liked it.
I found
it
told fascinating.
The story of the corruption of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I found it fascinating.
Wow, he's blind everybody and they don't even know it. And okay, he's the bad guy. We know that. No one else knows it. And now he's in charge of everything. Oh my God.
When you think about it, the Sith are just really space libertarians when you think about it.
More evidence. Go.
I mean, think about it. They're all like, oh man, do what you feel like. Follow your passion. It's all,
I would recommend to anyone go watch the Stupendous Wave on YouTube.
The Stupendous Wave.
He does a lot of Star Wars extended universe kind of, not series, but he does little analyses on them and stuff. And he talks about the politics of the Sith, or not the politics, the ideology of the Sith, and you kind of got it. It's but it's more so in the pursuit of power.
Yeah. I can see that.
One of the biggest things to it was oh man, what was it?
I'm back.
Oh crap! Oh, that scared the shit out of me. I didn't have my thing on.
What are you talking about?
I stand you back.
We were just talking about how, at least, I think the Sith are space libertarians. Would you agree?
Oh God, I'm so glad that the conversation turned to this. I think that the space libertarians. Can you go on? Can you go on about that for a little bit? What do you mean?
So,
space communism, is that the new the big meme in the LGBT world?
I don't know.
Republic gay space communism or something? I don't know what it is. Continue.
So the reason why I think the Sith are space libertarians is that they're very individualistic. They're all about, follow your passion, do what you want to do.
I came back at a good time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
like,
you did.
Shit. I mean, like the Sith are based off of emotion and human passion. And the Jedi are so authoritarian. Like you can't even love if you're a Jedi Knight. Like I'd make the case that maybe the Sith were more moral than the Jedi, except for the fact that Palpatine started the whole war. He was behind the Trade Federation.
Yeah. So this is, man, I hate. So how deep in Star Wars lore are you?
Well, it depends. I mean, I was into the lore until Disney said it wasn't canon anymore. But I like the Darth Bane books. I like.
Okay.
I quite like the video games.
Darth Revan is my favorite of the entire.
I played a lot of Knights of the Old Republic back when I was a kid. That's probably my favorite Star Wars game.
Man. Did you play Jedi Academy?
Long time ago.
Hang on, guys. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go straight booming real quick, and I'll be right back. You go ahead and y'all go have fun with your little conversation. I'll be right back. I gotta mute everybody or mute myself, so I'll be right back, guys.
Yeah.
I don't think that the Sith or the empire that the Sith create or that Palpatine created was libertarian. I think that the reason why, because I think they were, basically just, Nazis almost. Because I remember in the 4th episode when Luke said, I hate the empire just as much as anyone. I think it could just be like, a tyrannical state. And they never really discussed that in Star Wars.
I think it's really funny though that he was talking about going off to the academy, the flight academy. Like what academy do you think he was talking about?
Yeah, that's a good point.
When you talk about a pilot's academy, there's not a whole lot of options out there. Most likely, he was going to be an Imperial pilot.
I mean, that's the funny thing about Episode 4. Like, Luke Skywalker is a terrorist. There were lots of civilians living on Star.
He was a fucking terrorist. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, there's a meme that's going on. It's, a kid who gets radicalized by some old guy and starts murders a bunch of innocent people.
I just find it interesting how under the Empire it was peaceful. However, under the Rebel Alliance, it was complete chaos.
Yeah. I mean, though also it's like the one real flaw in the original trilogy is that they never really show the Empire being repressive. They show Luke's family getting murdered, but they're pursuing. Yeah, I mean, I could start my whole rant about why Episode 7 is an objectively better movie than Rogue One. I don't know if you guys want to hear that. I haven't seen Episode 8. I don't want to.
Right. No. How about this? How about what do you think was the weakest Star Wars movie, number 1 to 6? And do you think Episode 7 was worse than that movie?
Episode 7, I would say, is better than most of the prequels. Episode 1 is undoubtedly the weakest for multiple reasons, and Red Letter Media has an excellent, like, 1 or 2 hour long breakdown of why Episode 1 is absolute shit.
I would like to see that, because I like Episode 1, but it's just up to me.
Like, Episode 7 is a weaker, but at the same time stronger in different ways version of Episode 4. And I won't judge J.J. Abrams for kind of chickening out as far as what he did with the story, but he did some things that we hadn't seen before. Like, he actually showed the First Order being repressive assholes. Like, he showed them butcher an entire village to find one person. Which, that's what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be repressive space Nazis. It's exactly what the First Order and the Empire is supposed to be. Is space Nazis. Repressive authoritarians.
One thing I would like to see is I would like to see a game from the Empire's perspective.
Yes.
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 I would find that fascinating. One thing I've always kind of complained about Star Wars is this duality within the universe. This very good versus evil. I would like to see that gray area.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, though, is it's easy to write for the rebels fighting the Empire because it's weak versus strong. It's very easy to do. Whereas for Empire hunting rebels, and that's your mission, you have to write it like the Iraq War or the Afghan War or the Malaysia emergency back in the day. And it has to be whack-a-mole on a strategic scale. Like, you have to find these random people and figure out what they're doing. So it's like a strategic, it's somewhere between like Civilization 6 and like a spy movie.
Yeah.
Where you're juggling sending military units to various places. You're trying to cover your bases, but you don't have enough people. So you're operating off of a lack of information to try to do the best you can.
That's when the art of war comes in handy.
Did any of you guys play Battlefront?
Yes, I played it number 2.
Yep.
Y'all are still talking about video games.
The original one where you're actually like fighting over planets. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's actually quite funny. I'll make a point about the internet and the outrage machine. Like when Battlefront 3, did the whole paid what was it? You can pay
the microtransactions economy.
Microtransaction. They removed that after public backlash, like severe public backlash. But the thing is, after a few weeks, they introduced it back
because the original model was predatory. Extremely pay to win predatory.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was, hey, you can spend, $100 and you unlock all of the best kit that's only available this way, or you can grind for the next 10 years to unlock the same stuff.
Yeah. It would have been fine if they made the characters available at a quicker pace, or at least a lesser price point.
Yeah,
for credits or whatever they're using for their.
But it wasn't balanced.
Yeah,
it wasn't. You can get a short-term boost, or not even necessarily a boost. You can get a short. You can quickly and easily get this character for some cash, or you have to grind for a month,
more than 4 hours. Yeah,
not like one of them was like the maximum unlock was like 6,000 hours of gameplay.
Yeah,
to unlock everything. Absurd. It was predatory. Absolutely predatory.
Yeah, Lego Star Wars did a better job of that than any other game.
Yeah.
I've actually been replaying Lego Star Wars recently.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. It's pretty fun
too.
Yeah. It's entertaining and it's just nice.
I was playing with the Lego sets that I have. I need to start selling them off because I'm 23 and I need to get the fuck out of my house.
Yeah. So the pay to win the pay to win theory is not a good one. We all agree on that.
Oh, yeah.
But what do you guys think
Oh, yeah.
of Bethesda's game where it's basically paid mods? You can buy mods from the Bethesda.
Mods.
Yeah.
There's a game that I play.
Idea.
There's a game that I play called World of Warships. I've been seeing it advertised on YouTube more and more lately, but also I play it. And you can buy, it's a free-to-play game originally. And you can buy premium time, which makes the grind a little easier to rank up or whatever. And you can also buy special ships in the game. You know, like for each group of ships, American, Russian, British, there's special ships like HMS Hood. You can get that. Or
oh wow,
there's a few others. I can't think of them right now, but you get just a different play style. It's a unique ship that's not like anything else. Like my roommate has one ship, the USS Atlanta, that's essentially a machine gun, but it shoots light rounds and you're fighting fucking battleships. So there's a trade-off of, you know, you buy this special thing, but you need to know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
In that game, is there still unpaid mods?
It's like you can play for free and you can rank up and do all of that. It takes more time. Like I prefer to have a premium account. Mine has lapsed because I'm broke, but it means you can rank up a little faster. You get a couple little perks here and there, but it's not game breaking to buy this stuff. You just get something different. Like one ship that people
kind of like how Overwatch's loot boxes work. You pay for a bunch of them, but you're still not guaranteed something.
Yeah. Well, like in this though, it's like one ship that you can buy is KMS Tirpitz, the famous battleship from World War II. It's a high rank battleship. It's a tier 8. The tiers only go to 10. Now you buy that ship, you're fighting experienced players who've done the grind. Like there's a reason why in the community it's nicknamed the Derpits.
But that's like a multiplayer environment. What I was really wanting to ask was like, what would you think if, say, Bethesda, the company that made Skyrim, if they introduced these paid mods, this platform, and so they can, you know, find someone in the community who makes this really cool dungeon, and then they pay them to like, you know, put their mod on the market, and then they get a cut of the mod. Because where I think that's going to end up is companies like Bethesda just making a really bare bones game and then turning it into The Sims, basically, where you have to buy a dungeon or something like that.
I mean, involving your community, I've seen a lot of games that permit modding and support it. And it does seriously enrich gameplay because you have people who aren't operating under development restrictions. It's not, we have to get this game out. This is the budget. This is what we have to make. And we have to do everything we can to accomplish as much of that as possible, as cheaply as we can. You know, instead you've got, you know, 5 or 6 guys who chat on a forum somewhere and they do all of the legwork to make this wonderful modification to the game. Like Skyrim actually does support mods. A lot of them are free, but having, you know, mod packs that you can buy, or like one of the great games of all time, Age of Empires 2. A couple of several of those expansions were fan made. Like
some of the new ones,
really full scale expansions to the game.
Yeah, but they're not. That's the thing, though. Like they did the same thing with the spin-off game Age of Mythology, and I mean, I'm really fucking happy that they're getting some updates to this game after like 10 years. But yeah, I mean, they're just. I mean, I bought the Chinese expansion for Age of Mythology, and it's fan made, and it's nowhere near worth $20.
But also, another trick about games and game development is, what does a blue chip, you know, AAA game cost? There's one answer. It's $60, 60 US. And people are not willing to pay what that game actually should cost. It's been $60 for like 10 or 15 years. Like I think Halo 3, when it came out in like 2005, was $60. And you have to admit, what games require now, what players want now versus then, has changed. Like BioShock Ultimate, one of the great games of the last 15 years, was an amazing game. Infinite wonderful game. But so people played that and played like Fallout 3 and all these wonderful games and Portal 2. And we're so used to paying $60, but the gaming consumer community at large isn't willing to actually pay the developers what they should.
I thought we call Zoe Quinn and have it all fixed.
Say what?
I say I vote that we call in Zoe Quinn and get her opinion on it.
No, let's get Anita Sarkeesian. Let's go get Anita
Sarkeesian again. Well, I mean, here's the thing about video games.
As a white cis male, I highly value her opinion.
Yeah, no,
so,
right?
I mean, as far as like games are concerned, like some people would buy Skyrim or buy Fallout 3, and they would only do the main quest and then not play it again. Whereas with me, I tend to play a game and then revisit it a year later, play through it again, and clock it. And if the law of diminishing returns did not apply, I would happily pay like $1,000 for a game as fucking epic as Skyrim. Yeah. I mean, I spent that much on my phone.
Hang on. I'm about to blow y'all the fuck out because I play like I essentially only play like 3 games on my computer because I'm fucking poor as shit. I play Dark Souls. I play
Tetris.
Dark Souls. Yeah, Dark Souls 3, Duck Game, and Tabletop Simulator. The hours I have on this shit is Dark Souls 3 is 742 hours. Tabletop Simulator it's growing, but it's 68 hours. Duck Game is 878 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, that's me with Empire Total War and Medieval 2 Total War.
With Dark Souls 3, yes. I have.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with Dark Souls 3, I have the cheating, so I can change my character at will. So I constantly come up with new ideas for character creations, and I post them to to Dark Souls Discord. Like, hey, check out this build I made. It only requires fucking cheat engine to make it, but
it's really sad about modern games.
Diminishing returns doesn't apply to though.
So at least with Knights of the Old Republic 2, I am aware that the modding community was able to mod back cut story content.
Huh. Really? Okay.
Yes.
The data miner guys who literally take apart the game in code form and look through it. World of Warcraft has that community too.
Hey guys, I'm gonna bowl out real quick because I gotta go. So
yeah, I got
thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely, this was fun.
I didn't get to say this earlier, but thank you for your service. I hope to see you again.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more later.
Thank you for providing a few cents of revenue to my YouTube account. If someone watched this and saw an advert,
that's fine. Just give me all the money because I'm probably one of the funniest motherfuckers you've had on your stream. All right, guys. I'll see you guys. Depending on what time it is, I might hit you guys up in the group chat or whatever, and we'll do something later.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be keen to have even 8 people in here. See you, man.
All right, man. See you. Bye. See ya. Next time we can probably get Sargon. Bye.
Yes.
We got to build up a track record. We got to build up. We've been doing this consistently.
I just have one more thing to say about video games, and it's like if you make a good game like Age of Empires 2, it lasts if everything is in harmony, if the gameplay and the graphics and the sounds, it's basically a work of art. And I don't look at Star Wars Battlefront 3 as a work of art.
No.
No.
Though also you have to look at who made it. Look at Electronic Arts and their track record of taking perfectly serviceable game franchises and murdering them in the name of profit. It's something they've been doing for years. They did that to the Command and Conquer franchise. It's dead now.
Because Electronic Arts original games.
Original which?
Battlefield or Battlefront. Excuse me.
LucasArts.
Yeah.
LucasArts. Okay.
Original OG LucasArts.
They were a cut-off company from Lucasfilms. Like I don't know if it was the same.
I think it was a branch like a branched off company that kind of answered to LucasArts or Lucasfilm, but wasn't governed necessarily by Lucasfilm, I think.
I mean, the thing that bothered me the most about the episode 7 was that they completely disregard the fact that Yoda almost cancelled Anakin Skywalker from entering the Jedi Academy because he was too old. He was 9 years old. And yet in episode 7, and children have to do many years of training to become Jedis. And in episode 7, it was like, okay, she's a Jedi now.
Well, I mean, like episode 7 is not a good movie. Like we can all agree, the new Star Wars films, episode 7, Rogue One, episode 8, they're not good movies. They're not going to be anything near to most of the other movies that have come out recently. They're not that great. But like Luke Skywalker was in his late 20s when Yoda took him on. Even at, during Empire Strikes Back, as Luke is flying away, he gets into an argument with Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's like, he is too old. He's like, Obi-Wan's like, this is the guy we need. Sorry, pal. You don't have a choice. It's like this. We don't have another shot.
It is kind of sad to me that, like, if I were to watch Star Wars for the first time now, I wouldn't be hooked on it. And I'm only really interested in it now for the nostalgia element. Yeah. And it's like, things are just less amazing when you get older.
I mean,
so we were discussing this earlier, but at least to me, I felt the politics of the first three the prequels was fascinating.
Yep.
I mean, what's your thought about that?
Well, first of all, I watched an Alex Jones video that Sargon covered where he talked about, I don't know if you guys have seen it, where he talked about how
yes, I know what one you're talking about. Yes.
I think I missed it.
And it is pretty brilliant the way he sort of lays it all out. The politics of. I mean, I have thought a bit about it, and my only conclusion that I got out of it was that the Jedi weren't actually the good guys, and that the Sith were the good guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's so much ranting and raving that's happened about the prequel films and their development. Like one thing that happened, and there are people who've gone on record with the media about this, is people who voiced differing opinions than George Lucas during the development of the prequels just got fired. People who weren't allowed to, like, they would leave work one day, come back, and their key card just would not work. And there's a security guard sitting there. It's like, hey, we cleaned out your desk for you. Thank you. You're done.
That's crazy.
So, like, George Lucas directed all three of the prequels. Whereas the two, like, there's some debate back and forth on which of the original two Star Wars films is better, Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi. I felt the episode 6 was kind of lazy. I kind of found it boring. Yeah, I mean, there's difference in opinion between if 5 or 6 is better, but what everyone doesn't remember is that 5 and 6 were not directed by George Lucas.
Really?
Yeah, episode 5 was directed by Irvin Kershner.
Really?
I forget who, that might have been the guy who directed episode 6, but neither of the 2/3 of the original trilogy was not directed by George Lucas. And he wasn't the only writer either. Like episode 4 laid a good foundation for a story. 5 and 6 completed it and did a very good job at it. I mean, I love episode 6 specifically because it shows legit the conclusion of character development and shows most of the characters in legit danger. And if you haven't seen it before, you're not sure if they're going to make it out. Like Luke Skywalker in the throne room facing off with Darth Vader and the Emperor. You don't know if he's going to fucking make it the first time you see it.
Yeah.
Whereas in 1, 2, and 3, like, you know where Anakin's going to go. You know he's going to become Darth Vader. And you know that he will die as a Jedi. Like, he will forsake who he has been for 20 years and say, no, I'm going to die on my fucking terms. Which is something that I respect. Is at the very end, Darth Vader sacrifices himself to do the right thing. And going from being this evil guy who's a murderous bastard, saying, you know what?
I'm going to do the right thing for once. Whereas you look at the original, you look at the prequels, and you're like, what the hell is going on here? Like, you don't see real character development. Like in episode 1, you meet Anakin. He's this little kid who's kind of freaked out about the world. Most 10-year-olds are like that. They look around, they're like, what's going on? Then suddenly you jump forward 10 years. You're in the prelude to a war. You see a war break out, and he's this pissed off little cunt. And then episode 3, suddenly he turns into a raging jackass for no, like, we aren't shown. That's a problem with the prequels, is they don't show us the development. They talk about it. It's like, they allude to like, oh yeah, you remember that thing that we did? But nobody in the audience saw that. Like that's the issue with the prequels. And that's one of the issues. Like, that's why I fucking hate Rogue One. Is there's all this character story that they talk about, but they never fucking show us.
How do you think episode 3 did in uniting the two trilogies?
Mediocre. It did just okay enough to not shit its pants on the way in.
Yeah, I thought like most of the interesting politics happened in the 3rd episode.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Like, you see actual hazard and danger, and even like for me, I grew up on the original trilogy, and then I see the prequels, and they do kind of make you doubt how well everyone's gonna going into episode 4. It makes you wonder. And then, hi, Morion.
Hello.
How do I say your name? Is it Morion?
Just Morrison.
Morrison? Okay.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Pink Floyd song?
Fuck, man, you've got me on.
That's a really rough question to start someone out on. That's not fair, man.
It says fault for joining the shirt with your band shirt.
Just give me a second. Fuck. Dude, you can't do that, man.
This is why I'm wearing a Crusader shirt and I don't wear band shirts, because Deus Vult, motherfuckers.
Probably Pigs or Sheep from the Animals album.
Haven't heard those.
Yeah, get fucked.
Yeah, we didn't like Pink Floyd before it was cool.
I like Tool. Pink Floyd's okay.
How about Boss? Come on.
Dude, Animals was released like 3 years after Dark Side of the Moon. No, 5 years. So this is after they were cool. So no excuses.
We were just talking about the politics in Star Wars.
Yep.
I haven't seen the movie, and I don't even want to, honestly.
Which we're talking the prequel movies, like episodes 1, 2, and 3, not the new one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I admittedly haven't seen a lot of those big time films. I haven't bothered to watch Harry Potter. It's just not my thing. I've seen like 2 Star Wars movies.
Jesus, dude.
Yeah.
I wonder if Jordan Peterson has said anything about the archetypes of Star Wars.
I mean, if he wants to really piss off some nerds, that's a good way to go.
You know, I'm thoroughly disappointed that they killed off Maul so soon.
Yeah,
I think it was a wasted opportunity.
Oh yeah, and they also wasted the opportunity for Jar Jar Binks to actually be a Sith Lord, which they could have done.
I like how they showed.
Guys, there's okay, so there's 2 videos of Jordan Peterson talking about Star Wars. One's about Star Wars, male social status, and so on. The other one's Star Wars. It's the mythology of the modern person.
What does that second one even mean?
I don't know.
In a mythological world, in a world for action, you can conceptualize the world as a stage for action.
Fucking hell, man.
And
Just gonna skip
this is
it.
a shape. They have their exits and their entrances.
Can you stop playing that? I'll turn into a Nazi.
Yeah, we can all look it up later, but that is the mythology of the current person. That's an interesting concept. That's something that we'll all have to like sit down and watch and like take notes for.
Yeah, I'm not debating it though because it's fucked.
Well, like anything Jordan Peterson does, there's so much depth in what he's saying. You really need to like sit there and take notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, his Actually, one of the things he says is you wait till it's finished and then you take notes.
Yeah.
You wait until the lecture's over.
Yeah. If we were gonna conversate over Jordan Peterson's corpus of work, you kind of got to do your research first.
I really think, though, that in June, when Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson have another talk, Sam Harris is really going to hold Jordan Peterson's feet to the fire.
Yeah, because last time he kind of got shut down a bit, didn't he?
Yeah.
Who, Sam or Jordan Peterson?
Oh, wait, no. I was thinking of Sam Harris versus Ben Shapiro. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was a pretty good one, actually. Ben really held his own against an atheist, which is difficult when you're religious.
I didn't think they were really talking about this. I mean, I think I didn't understand most of it, but
yeah, I missed that one.
Well, they were talking about free will, and it's like there's what in us is biologically inclined to give us free will.
I'm more on the Sam Harris side of this argument. I think things are so predetermined that you can break down what choice anyone makes into its underlying, environmental.
Yeah, but then it's like, what biological incentive do we have to currently have this conversation on our computers?
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah. Couldn't tell you.
Probably would be. It's not necessarily a biological need because we're not operating on a level of where we're prioritizing biological needs through every second of the day. It's, maintaining our survival. It's more about, we have the time, we have fucking computers. So we're doing better than most of the world.
Did we do this as a result of free will, or did we do it
I'll answer your question like this. Children play fight, not because they want to hurt each other or not because they want to learn, but because it's fun. And the reason we are talking here could be such an unconscious reason. Like maybe we are here because we want to meet more people, gain some social status, gain some confidence, and be higher up on the male dominance hierarchy.
I'm here because I'm curious. Just intellectual curiosity was my motive. What do other people in this community think?
Well, why do you want to increase your intellect? Like, how does that serve you? Like,
it doesn't even that. I don't even know if that's biologically endowed to us to increase our intellect. It's more so to keep ourselves out of harm's way. I think the whole concept of expanding your horizons when it comes to your knowledge is so new that we don't know what to do with it. Some people locked out genetically, like massively successful people in the intellectual sphere, like Carl Jung or Stephen Hawking, people like that. They've kind of got it worked out because they know what they're doing. But I think this is very new to us in general because it's about, let's say, at a stretch, 20,000 years of proper civilization compared to millions of years of evolution, which was revolving around our survival. So it's like, there's a stronger element behind. Yeah,
the modern intellectual movements of the world, the Enlightenment happened 500 years ago. That's it. We're talking, a fraction of the time of human existence. So,
I think
figuring out what to do with it.
I would say we don't have free will, but we need to pretend that we do have free will in order to maintain a society and law.
I think like to think we do.
So millions of years of evolution and natural selection and bad, weak candidates for procreating dying off have led me to calling you all cucks in 2 seconds. You're all cucks. See, that is millions of years of evolution reaching its highest point. Like when that first amphibious-like fish crawled out of the water onto the land for the first time ever, it was thinking some prick is going to call some other pricks a cuck in about 500 million years' time.
Free will can just be a gradient based off of how safe you are. Like, for example, if you've got a wolf out in the wild, it's thinking mostly, how do I protect my tribe? How do I, find enough food to survive? How do I stay warm? if you domesticate a dog, I think that dog will show more signs of, free will and its own personality and character.
But they also tell you not to domesticate wolves because they can be violent. Even if you adopt them as pups and raise them yourself, they'll become violent as they grow older. So it's like
I don't really buy that because there are biological differences in dogs. Like, for example, pit bulls are more, more violent, supposedly.
I think, like, when it comes to crime rates committed by dogs, pit bulls are the African Americans of the crime world. Like, of the dog world, sorry. It's like a small portion of the dog population committing the majority of the crime.
There's not actually enough statistical data to support that. I mean, when you're talking about fatal dog attacks, yes.
Okay, I thought you were about to say there's not enough statistical data to support the African American crimes. I'm like, dude.
Oh, no. You're talking about human crime statistics? That's not even a question. No, for dogs, it's the amount of deaths that a dog causes. Yeah, pit bulls are heavily overrepresented. Whereas when you look at trying to look at all of the dog attacks that happen every year, there's just not enough data to make an actual call, because the dog breeds who most frequently fail like agreeability tests or behavior tests are not pit bulls. Pit bulls are way down the line. It's like one of the most Chihuahuas are actually one of the most.
That's a great point, because Chihuahuas are violent dogs, but they don't have the power that a pit bull has.
No.
They also can kick around a bit,
Yeah, I mean, they can still do damage, but it's nothing like, an 85-pound pit bull can. It's the difference between, like Brock Lesnar. You guys know that name?
Nope.
Yeah.
No.
It's a 265-pound Ultimate Fighting Championship competitor. He was. Big dude. Very strong, very well trained. He's going to do more damage than any of us can with his hands. He's just more physically capable than the rest of us. That's why we have the Olympics. It's because some people are just more capable than the rest of us. You look at people like Michael Phelps.
Yeah.
And it's just like people can't even do, I'm quoting Joe Rogan practically at this point. It's like, we can't even do what people can do.
Yeah.
Yes, without doping.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. Just shoot up on something and just beat Usain Bolt's 100-meter time by 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that I think about the Olympics, and when it comes to, transgender rights and drugs that you can take to enhance ability. I want the Olympics to be, a measure of a human body's potential to do something, regardless of how much caffeine it has in it. I would allow doping just to see how. No, seriously, just to have an accurate. Because what if someone used some method that was later banned in the Olympics, and then their record that they set just isn't passable because of this new regulation that the Olympics put in there.
I'd be okay for a parallel organization where you have the Olympics that's clean. So if you're going to compete without anything, and then you have the parallel one where it's all right, let's see what science can make the human body do.
You're pushing these guys to the limit. We've got
the Paralympics,
steroids,
we've got the Special Olympics
on cocaine and crystal meth, so they all sprint to the end of the line screaming, and then they cross the line and start fighting each other.
So we've got.
I would love
Olympics.
To see people fighting on LSD.
Let's think about this for a second. So we've got the normal Olympics. So we've got the Winter Olympics going on right now in South Korea, and then we have the Paralympics for people who only have one leg or one arm doing their thing, and then we have the Special Olympics for people who are mentally handicapped. They're
communists.
So we have.
This is affirmative action.
So we have Olympics for normal people, and we have Olympics for the disabled. So let's make the super abled.
So the Olympics.
I heard somewhere, I can't confirm this, but I heard that the Russians were setting up their own Olympics because of their whole doping scandal.
Because they keep getting caught.
When you swing a cat around in Russia and you're going to hit someone on something.
I don't know what you're talking about. What doping scandal?
Yeah, how the Russian team is competing under the Olympic flag now. There is no Russian flag at the Olympics.
Really?
They're not there. No, they're under the IOC flag. And the North Koreans are competing under their flag and not the IOC flag. This is a weird Olympics this year.
Have you seen the mainstream media praising Kim Jong-un's sister? Have you guys seen that?
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, I'm actually that actually pissed me off quite a bit though. Like, they're trying to make her this like friendly, sassy. You know, she's still in the Olympics. Are we going to forget that she oversees about 1,000 public executions per year? Like,
no, I don't agree with you. I think that she is just, she is forced into her position as Kim Jong-un's sister. I don't think she chose it. I don't think she's committed any crime, and I think if she wanted to defect, she'd be killed.
Yeah, but also she's in the power of the nation at the moment, along with her brother. I think I would be fine for not defecting and killing a couple thousand people a year. Not that I want to do that right now, but like if I was in that position.
All right, having spent time on the Korean Peninsula in South Korea, she's a propaganda minister. Like.
So she knows what she's doing, yeah?
Maybe she just got put there, or maybe she's like, can I do this? I'm interested in doing this. And yeah, to a certain extent, everyone in North Korea is a prisoner, including Kim Jong-un. Everyone is a slave to that system. However, she is directly benefiting from it. She's also probably seen a couple of her uncles get executed. So
have you heard about that theory where Kim Jong-un is just a puppet of some ministry? And really, this ministry is controlling the whole nation. Have you heard about that?
I haven't heard any credible sources report on that.
Neither, but that'd be fucking crazy. Holy shit.
I don't believe it for a second.
Imagine, I wouldn't either, but imagine it's like a puppet from China or some shit like that.
The Chinese hate the Koreans now. The Chinese are tired of them.
You know who did that all? I think it was Trump bumbling around hopelessly, and then he's fixed so many things.
No. This is something the Chinese did of their own volition.
Was this last year?
A year ago? Where
this was the trade embargo where he got them to stop sending coal.
No. China sent like 2,000 tons of North Korean exports, coal, back. Like this has been ongoing for decades of North Korea being a jackass like it does, and the Chinese are covering for them. But the Chinese, their leadership now, like the current leadership of the People's Republic of China, was educated in the West. They're capitalists more than they are communists.
Just call it communist China.
They're more capitalist than they are communist.
Yeah,
I've been tracking this for 10 years,
which is good. I mean, they're still living in poverty, and it's quite terrible. Most of the country is pretty terrible, but they're doing quite well for themselves for a couple that was.
No, they're not. North Korea is
not North Korea. Not North Korea.
China? China's done quite well for itself.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it used to be full communist, and now it's like digging its way out of that hole. And when you have people who are saying we should, the people who are working in these factories for like $1 or $2 a day. Raise their wages, blah blah blah. It's like wait for the inflation because these guys can't do anything.
There's
Morrison, I want to ask you about your thing about Kim Jong-un's sister, because in this group chat here that I sent you a link to a video that's basically just a montage of people in the mainstream media. Saying that we should nuke North Korea preemptively. Like, the amount of videos and what these people say is actually quite horrific. So I agree with you when you are pissed off at the media covering Kim Jong-un's sister.
Yeah.
But I'm pissed off because they are part of a military-industrial complex, and they will not criticize someone, for saying let's nuke North Korea on live TV. And so many people said that it was absurd.
I think
that's wrong for so many reasons.
See what I think, Trump's button comment, which everyone thought was just a dick measuring contest, pretty much opened up a dialogue between North and South Korea. People have already forgotten that. After he made the button comment, North Korean officials agreed to meet at that little room on the border and talk things out. North Korea would not have been at the Winter Olympics, I think, in large part, if Trump hadn't made that comment on Twitter.
No, I'm not so sure about I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been some dictator in the Middle East or something. But he had nuclear weapons, and during like some press briefing, somebody asked Dick Cheney, or I don't know if it was Dick Cheney, someone in the Bush administration, what would this country have to do to, be friendly with America? And they just said, well, let go of their nuclear weapons. And Dick Cheney, whoever said that, didn't really mean it at the time. Like, it was sort of like an offhand comment. And within like a few hours, this dictator said, hey, don't invade me. Here are my nuclear arms. Don't invade me. And so basically America took those nuclear arms and toppled his regime anyway. So Kim Jong...
That was during the Obama administration. That was Muammar Gaddafi.
Oh, Gaddafi, yes, that was it. So why should Kim Jong-un...
However, what you just said there, Sam, is a gigantic oversimplification, an unfair oversimplification of what happened, because that happened during the Arab Spring, when about 14 countries across the Middle East had gigantic uprisings over bread prices. Because people were burning themselves alive in the streets. Yeah, because men couldn't feed their families. Because
it may have been an oversimplification, but the fact remains that Kim Jong-un, based off, Kim Jong-il, I don't know, based off of history, why should he give up his nuclear arms when India and Russia and China have them? I mean, like, from a pragmatic standpoint of his position, he has no reason.
I think it's better for them to just
I
keep their arms and just have this total mutually assured destruction. Yeah, well, it's like, as far as I'm concerned, I do think Trump played a huge part in that dialogue opening up just by being a bit of a retard on Twitter.
You guys do know that North and South Korea open up relations every few years again, because there's a faction in South Korea that is hardline, like Park Geun-hye, the female prime minister of South Korea who got canned a little while ago for corruption. She was a hardliner. She's like, no, up yours. I'm not playing your fucking games. And then there's the apologist group. I don't know if there's a better term for it, who are more interested in talks. Like, people don't know. There was a second Korean War that happened for a few years between North and South Korea, and a lot of people died. Like,
when was that?
It was in the 1970s and 80s. I forget exactly when. Like, people forget about things like Operation Paul Bunyan, where an American was killed in the DMZ because we had to cut down a tree. And we threatened to destroy North Korea so we could cut down a tree to watch their outposts. Or the Cheonan, or the shelling of Yongbyon Island. Like, the Cheonan was a South Korean ship that the North Koreans just sank for no fucking reason.
Yes, and it's ridiculous to assume that...
Several hundred South Korean sailors died for no fucking reason.
Yeah, and I think it's ridiculous to assume that these countries go to war over an ideological difference. Like, look at how World War I was started. Some bloke was assassinated, and then
that was two, wasn't it? That was World War II.
World War II was Archduke Ferdinand. Archduke Ferdinand.
Yeah, that was the one.
In any case, they didn't go to
the Archduke of Austria, I think it was. Didn't he take? You know, it's really bad about that. I'm trying to think of the word. Not ironic, but like, it's a word similar to that. Is that their cart took a wrong turn? They went down the wrong street, and the dude got shot.
Yeah, that's because Gabriel Princip had tried and failed. So he went and was having like a sandwich at a cafe, and here comes Archduke Ferdinand, who was his target. Their car stopped because I think they needed, like, they got lost in Sarajevo, and he died. But here's the thing: is like North Korea, there are multiple tunnels that have been found that were dug from North Korea into South Korea. Like, there are
insiders.
Yeah, like the DMZ is 4 kilometers across, north to south. There's a demarcation line. It's 2 kilometers on each side, and I've been up there in areas like Jeongguk, places nobody's heard of. Twin Bridges training area. Yeah, I was stationed at Camp KC, South Korea. Well, Camp Hovey, Ganducheon, South Korea. I spent a year of my life within artillery range of North Korea.
Damn.
Like, that area, that land is fucking mountainous. I would not want to fight there. I'd rather go back to Afghanistan or fight in Iraq where it's flat and low altitude.
But who has the home advantage, South or North Korea, if the fight starts there?
Depends on where it hits first. If they do their last approach like they did and go for the Uijeongbu Bowl, As long as the North Koreans don't take the Uijeongbu Bowl, they're going to lose. Well, they're going to lose. It's a matter of time because they don't have enough materials. They just don't have the. They don't have the rations and bullets and fuel to take South Korea before the American cavalry shows up.
Yeah. Actually, you know what it was? I think I read this about Australia too. We would last for about 4 to 8 weeks in a war if we had all our exports cut off in the event of one because we have fuck all fuel.
It also depends on what happens. Like if some jackass tries to land in Australia, they are objectively fucked if they don't cut off your supplies first.
Oh yeah, we'd send our migrant gangs towards them.
Well, not to mention the SAS regiment in Western Australia.
Yeah, fair enough. Although it probably wouldn't go near Western Australia. There's fuck all over that side of Australia.
Yeah, and what are they going to do?
There's more value in the east.
Like, what are they going to do? March down the east coast in a narrow mountain corridor with the Australian military waiting for them? Or try to land in the bay in Sydney that's one of the most dangerous harbors on the planet? It's suicide trying to invade.
Oh, yeah, but it's heavily armed there because there's more value in the area. It's like Western Australia. There'd be more value in just like a small chunk of New South Wales beachside land, in all honesty.
Just like
there'd be more infrastructure there.
Just like if those chaps had failed out on the Kokoda Trail and it was at Port Moresby, the North Coast.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Yeah, because once the Japanese had come down the Kokoda Trail and taken that town on the south end of New Guinea, they were going to hit northern Australia first. And the Australian government literally planned to just abandon it and make the Japanese chase them.
It wouldn't be such a bad idea. Like, there's so much land in Australia.
It's a great idea.
You make them get cocky and then fuck them up.
Well, it's like, who the fuck wants to go through the Daintree Forest? I've looked at what the Daintree Forest is like. I won't fight there. Fuck that. People have been boiled alive by the weather in that area. Not to mention the wildlife.
Australia's wildlife is not bad.
Well, like, there's a story about American Navy scout divers who, years later, they became Navy SEALs. It's that group of people. They were like, where are the sharks? There's no sharks out here. And the Australians were like, yeah, the crocodiles ate them. The sharks don't come over here anymore.
Fuck, I love Australians, man.
Yeah, but no, it's interesting.
We have such shit stories.
I mean, in America, there are bears, and in Australia, there are all sorts of venomous, poisonous things. I mean, the idea of going out into the woods and thinking that there are, like, things out there that can fuck you up if you go near them, it's just so interesting.
Okay, so back on track. We were talking about North Korea.
Yeah. No, I was enjoying talking about our dangerous wildlife. What?
You were enjoying talking about your own country.
It's an old joke anyway. Like, everyone knows Australians are insane. I heard stories about Australians in Afghanistan where if somebody shot at them, they just leveled the village where it came from.
Holy shit.
Wow.
The Australian military is insane.
That's actually not funny because you're on the wrong side of a war if you're doing that.
Their mentality.
Harnesses in place. They don't want to fall off the planet.
Yeah, the Australian military's mentality in Afghanistan is do not screw with us. And in that part of the world, that's the only thing the locals actually understand. I'm not kidding. It's just how it goes with the Pashtuns. Yeah, in their world, it's might makes right. That's how they do it. Like North Korea is one of the few countries in the world that just should not be trusted because every time they have tried to get leniency, they abuse it, which is why the leniency gets taken away.
But then I give a shit.
But the thing is, you're the world police. I mean, here's the thing.
UN's the world police, and they're fucked. If I became Prime Minister... well, they try to police things. If I became PM of Australia, I'd pull us out of the United Nations. 100%.
Well, you know, like the group, it's the G8, I think, like the countries managing North Korea.
Yeah.
Russia and China are on that list. And half the time they're like, no, America, you can't do that. But now the Chinese are getting sick of it. And 6 months ago, the Russians posted a mechanized infantry brigade not 20 kilometers from their part of the North Korean border. The Russians are getting pissed off at them. The Chinese are tired of them.
I think all it took was for one of their leaders to not give a shit about public opinion or what the world thought. And I mean, who more perfect than the bumbling idiot that is Donald J. Trump to just start saying some inflammatory shit and not care. And then everyone's like, oh, he's doing it, we'll do it. He started a movement.
This is a pattern that's been going on for 20 years.
Yeah. It's like
going
it
on.
just required
It was
the
him
one
and it was
person
his
to step
father.
out of line.
Kim Jong-il was the same way. The political brinksmanship, this has been going on since Clinton was in office 20 plus years ago, more than 20 years ago.
But we have to admit that if Obama was in office, he was very passive about these things. He was worried about publicity and starting wars and such.
He was very careful, but also
absolutely.
he had 2 wars inherited to him. George Bush left, he's like, here's 2 wars that are bullshit and stupid.
And by the time Obama left, he was bombing 8 different countries. 9 now that Trump is in.
Oh, yeah. Everyone forgets that Obama carried out a fucking terror campaign around the world.
Yeah.
At the same time, though,
Obama wasn't a good guy.
But no one talks about Trump and how he's increased drone strikes by like 350%. And if they did, it was only in the news for like a week.
Yeah, well, people
criticize Trump for the most mundane things.
Places like North Waziristan. If you can show me that on a map without looking it up,
I really can't.
Yeah.
I really can't. What I'm thinking is like, is he striking terrorist hideouts or what is he doing?
It happens in you know the name Malala Yousafzai?
Yeah,
Malala.
The Pakistani girl who got shot in the face for going to school.
Yeah,
who do you think are the people who shot her in the face?
It could have been a misfire. It could have been,
No, it wasn't. This was point blank range in broad daylight. I read the report. She got shot by extremists who later claimed credit for it in the Swat Valley.
Are you sure you didn't just disclose some classified information?
No, this is Jesus. You can find this on Google.
Okay.
You're gonna end up in like a Clinton-sponsored car accident in a few hours.
You'll be found with 2 shots in your head, and you committed suicide.
They're welcome to try. No, this is all public knowledge. Her story, she became a UN ambassador for women.
Wasn't
Taliban and related people, the Swat Valley, that's where North Waziristan is. Like the Haqqani network, who nobody's heard of, but I know people who traded fire with guys.
Who said don't. The more you criticize Islam or Muslims, the more terrorists you create.
I don't know.
That was her quote.
In general,
that was her.
Maybe it was. I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't even think that's her quotes. I feel like it's a family, a father saying, "Hey, say this."
It might have been the whole. Yeah, those drone strikes. Who knows the name Anwar al-Awlaki?
There's probably a few of those in the Middle East, but anyway.
No, there's one guy. He was an senior Al Qaeda dude, worked with Bin Laden personally, who we blew away with a drone in Yemen. We found him and we killed him.
When was this?
Is that an issue for you, or I'm not sure where you're going with that? Yeah,
he was an American. He was a U.S. citizen. He was from Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Yeah, it says here he was born. Yeah, he was born in Las Cruces, New Mexico. He had an education at Colorado State University, and San Diego State University, George Washington University, and George Washington University Graduate School of Education and Human Development.
He's an American citizen who was executed without trial.
Well, he was.
And in the West, that's a fucking problem because if your country decides to kill you, you're entitled to a trial legally. However, this guy was responsible for a lot of terrorist shit and a lot of radicalization.
Allegedly, he was a.
I can't speak to that documentation because I never had the need to see that stuff because I never went to Iraq.
Yeah,
I missed out on that party.
Well, he was in Yemen, I believe.
Yeah, they killed him in Yemen.
Yeah, and he was an imam and an Islamic lecturer. So I'm imagining an Islamic lecturer in Yemen isn't going to be like Imam Tawhidi and being all progressive and whatnot. I think this guy is going to be like the same as they were about 1,400 years ago, in all honesty. So I feel like he wouldn't have been the greatest asset for peaceful Islam.
Y'all know the name Nidal Hassan? This is mostly an American thing. Nidal Hassan is the American major who shot up a deployment station on Fort Hood.
Yes.
Guess who he was talking to?
Oh, really?
Yep.
No way.
They talk to each other.
Jesus.
I live about 1,000 meters from the easternmost gate to Fort Hood. I was stationed here for 2 years.
Oh, it said, okay.
Where it happened. I've been in that building. Amazingly, there's no bloodstains on the floor because it all got scrubbed off.
Oh, yeah, probably. Okay, so an investigation conducted by the FBI concluded that his emails with the late Imam Anwar al-Awlaki were related to his authorized research and that he wasn't a threat.
Yeah. That's the thing about modern terrorism is it's very heavily linked. Like the web, like if I tried to draw out the web of like modern terrorism, it would look like a spider web, and I would look like a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah. Actually, you know what it is? I remember doing this because you know whenever they look at like Islamic terror statistics in the US, they'll always say, here's how many Islamic attacks have happened since 9/11. It's like, okay, but what about 9/11? That's an extra 3,000 deaths caused by Islamic terrorists. So I put that together and I did all the deaths caused by Islamists since 2000 in America alone, and all the deaths caused by white supremacists. And then I adjusted it for the population to, you know, Islamic terrorists to Muslims and white supremacists to white people. And after adjusting it for population size, American Muslims were, it was like 28,040% more likely to commit acts of deadly terror in the US.
Yep.
When adjusted. And, you know, I really get sick of this tired old narrative that white supremacists are more dangerous. No, they're not. If you run across one of each group, you're more likely to get attacked by the Muslim in America.
Well,
statistically.
I mean, I served alongside a bunch of Muslims in the army.
Oh, yeah.
And
they probably were nice people.
They did their fucking job. And like, this is a world where if you're an asshole to somebody because of their beliefs or whatever, like if you're actually prejudiced against them, your career gets ended.
Yeah.
Like, you're done.
You've got no place for it.
But like, a lot of people will give me shit for this, but I'm like, the average people out there are not going to do this shit.
I mean, that's the thing about
tiny fucking minority.
Yeah, that's the thing about LGBT pride. Like, I spent my whole life, and I've never seen any discrimination against a gay person. I've never, you know, I've never seen anyone actually bullied for it. I've never.
Yeah. Oh, you have?
I haven't.
I'm from Southern California, and I've seen it.
In California, how long ago was this? 150 years ago? What?
In the last 20 years.
California is the gayest fucking place in America. And
that's where I'm from. Try me, dude.
That's gay.
Is it? Yeah, California is pretty gay, dude. Are you sure?
I don't know. Portland's pretty bad, too.
That's Oregon. That's another story. Okay, don't drag me in with that, all right? Don't drag me in with the hipster capital of the United States. That's Portland, Oregon. Oh, but like, people are going to be dicks. People are going to suck. All right. Like, I've seen human nature, and it is an ugly thing. Yeah, I need to turn a light on in here real quick. Give me a second. I'll be right back.
Okay, I'm just gonna have a look at these statistics for 2010 to now on anti-gay hate crimes. Well, just hate crimes. History of violent crimes against LGBTQ+. Thanks, Wikipedia.
I don't think you're going to find any statistics on this issue, any relevant statistics, because, you know, discrimination isn't reported. It's just, you know, it's like going out into the
like actual attacks, though.
Oh, actual attacks, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then again, it's like, it's hard to tell if something is a hate crime. Like, how do you know that this person just didn't attack this person because he thought he was a dick or something?
Even this Wikipedia list, okay? One of the entries is September 11, 2010. Victoria Carmen White, a 28-year-old black transgender woman, died of bullets in her New Jersey apartment. It is unknown whether she was targeted by her killer for her gender identity. So we don't even know if it's a hate crime. Like, not even by their definition are they sure if it's a hate crime. So these are just incidents of trans people being killed, I think.
I mean, like, that one you cited might have just been a breaking and entering or home invasion that went wrong.
Yeah, man.
I mean, that happens a lot.
Okay. January 2nd, 2018, Blaise Bernstein, an openly gay Jewish college student, was stabbed more than 20 times by an avowed neo-Nazi member. Alright.
Yeah.
It's the only one this year.
Pretty often you can tell. Sometimes you can't. I mean,
you
the
can
whole
usually
politics thing is just tiring. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, but it's more. You'd have to base it off the pretense of like a thought crime. It's like it's the government assuming what the person who did it to the other person was thinking. That's kind of. It's a very scary.
I mean, you're talking what you're reading there. It's a martyr list.
Yeah, and they said, okay, Wikipedia says a hate crime is simply defined as when individuals become victimized because of their race, ethnicity, religion, or gender. Yeah, and then it continues with hate crimes against LGBTQI people often occur because the perpetrators are homophobic or transphobic.
You see, that's an interesting thing, because the only reason why someone would actually harbor a grudge against, someone they don't know for being gay is purely a religious one. I mean, or it could just be, how they are built. They could just be prejudiced in this way. And here's the thing. People are prejudiced against fat people. And I wouldn't consider the attacks I get to be a, sort of fucking... I don't consider it a hate crime. I just consider it, as another form of abuse. Like, I mean, I understand, yeah, I mean, because I would imagine that people who target gays or target transsexuals, it isn't because they like sucking cock or they find cum delicious. It's because of how provocative they might be or their personality.
They just might have a hatred for it. They might just think, fuck, this shit's destroying the West, which I don't
I've always hated the term hate crime because isn't the very definition of a crime hateful?
Yeah, and also it's like the idea is that, again, as I said it like 2 minutes ago, it's that the thought behind it is, oh, they must have done this to this person because of this. I don't know if there's any white-related hate crimes in this list. I'll go through it in a while, but I really would be skeptical of there possibly being any anti-white hate crime. It's just
like... actually, I have an example for that. Is in Chicago a year and a half ago, there was
the guys that they kidnapped him
in Chicago. Yeah, they were not.
Yeah,
their charge, last I knew, was graded away from being a hate crime to
absolutely fuck all. Their charge was community service.
Though also, we're talking about Chicago, which is an extremely liberal town, and I've met the people who say, "Oh, it's not possible for white people to be racist." I've also seen the articles saying that you cannot rape a white woman because she has white privilege.
Well, it's almost, see, that's the slippery slope that you get. People warned about it 20 years ago. It's like, those gay people, if you give them rights, what next? It's going to be a down the hill. It's like, I would have laughed at these people 20 years ago. Now you look at this, it's like, holy shit, the more you secede ideological ground to the postmodernists, the more they try to take.
Like the great example that Sargon put out a video about was his video, The Politics of Black Panther.
Yeah,
people are saying that this is the first movie about a black superhero. Blade, Spawn,
I Am Legend.
Shazam.
No, Superhero. Shazam. Shazam is one. What's the other awful one with Shaq? Steel? Man of Steel?
That was Kazam.
No, that was the one where he was a genie out of a jukebox. That's not a superhero movie.
What's that?
That's like fantasy. No.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It was Man of Steel or
Shaq
Steel
Man
Man
or something. It's like Shaq Steel or something.
It's an awful movie, but Blade came out 20 years ago. I was a little boy. I saw that in theaters when I was a kid. Or so many others. I'm like, hold on a second. And you're also talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So you've got, War Machine, Gamora, Falcon. I love it in Captain America Civil War. Who did they send to stop Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Fucking Spider-Man.
Yeah,
and he's lost. They sent fucking Spider-Man to stop Falcon and Winter Soldier, and they win. Spider-Man loses that fight.
They should have sent Black Panther, man.
He was fighting someone else.
Have you guys seen Black Panther yet?
No.
Sorry, I did actually refer to it for that entire night as We Was Kangs, the film. But
and I love seeing the alt-right twisted around. They're like, this is what we want, but for white people.
Yeah. No. It's if you watch the live stream with Richard Spencer and Sargon and that, he admitted that he would be happy with deporting African Americans from the US and giving them their own ethno-state. Wakanda isn't just what Richard Spencer wants for the white people. It's what he wants in general. He wants Wakanda.
So literally, you have the far left and the far right agreeing, let's give black people an ethno-state. However, and
their own water fountains, apparently.
An outgrowth of that is the race joke from the Boondock Saints. If you've seen that,
shit. I haven't seen that, but go on.
Yeah, like the joke goes is, you know, there's I'm going to leave out the racial slurs. It's like there's a white guy, a Mexican guy, and a black guy walking down the beach, and they find a lamp, and they rub lamp like, all right, I can give each of you a wish, and the black guy and the Mexican guy say, "We'll take all my people and take us home." So he turns to the white guy at the end. He's like, "What do you want?" He's like, "So you're telling me all of the black people and the Mexicans are not in my country anymore?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'll have a Coke, thank you." I mean, it's way funnier in the film because lots of racial slurs and really bad Italian accents.
See, Ron
Jeremy's in that scene.
Scenario. It's like 3 people stranded on an island, right? And then 2 of the men out of 3 of them go, "Hey," to the genie. It's like, "I want to go home." The second man goes, "Yeah, can you send me home?" The last guy is just sitting there laughing his head off. The genie's like, "Dude, what's wrong?" It's like, "Can you bring them both back?"
Yeah, bring my friends back. But so you've got, they're like, "Oh yeah, this is what being black is about, is a black isolationist ethno-state that murders everyone who tries to visit it."
Richard Spencer would be at the back of the cinema going, "Oh."
Yeah. Be like, that's that's what the alt-right wants. That's what the racist fucks out there want.
Yeah, but it would be very funny for me if, like, I was in the alt-right and this movie came out about black people. And to criticize it, I went to the movie theater and supported the movie by paying to see it. Like, just seeing a movie just because it's from the black people.
I would love
racist.
It's the most ridiculous thing.
KKK. With the whole, like, this entire, like, group of, like, Ku Klux Klanners walk in to the cinema and sit down and start, like, cheering when Black Panther starts supporting the ethno-state.
Let's get all those fucks with the tiki torches to, like, post up at movie theaters and be like, "Hey, we like this movie too." Out of it immediately.
There's calls to boycott the movie because it's not LGBT inclusive enough.
Oh my god.
I heard someone say that it was diverse because there were so many black people. And I was just like, no, it's not diverse because there's so many of one ethno group.
There are 2 white main characters in it. One of them's an American and the other one's
British.
I forget what his accent is.
I can't assume they're Indian.
No, they're both British. Andy Serkis and the guy who was in Lord of the Rings and Sherlock, they're both British.
So they made sure there was no white Americans on the cast. It's like, just gotta make sure.
One of the white guys is a good guy and kind of like helps,
people.
And the other white guy is a villain with one arm.
Okay. This won't be as much of a spoiler, I don't think, because you probably guessed it. The villain of the movie is the one who wants there to be no secretive ethno-state.
Yeah, because
the villain of the movie wants Wakanda to give its riches to the world. And the proposed heroes of the movie are trying to keep their technology a secret.
Yeah.
That I find is hilarious. And another thing Sagan pointed out is that it's an anti-racist film, but there is a part in the movie where some of the Wakandans from one of the tribes start shouting like apes to silence a white man.
Yeah, Sargon talked about that.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
so. Is this racist or not? I don't.
No, because there's black directors, obviously.
Yeah. No. What's funny in Sargon's video is at like the 9 or 10 minute mark. There's a bunch of the actors are there promoting it, and there's this chick who's like, talking at the people who were in the fucking movie. She's like, "I thought this was great being black," and the camera is panning across the people sitting there, and in the back row, sitting right next to this chick, is Kevin Feige. I don't know how to say his name. He's the guy who owns Marvel and made the Marvel Cinematic Universe happen. He is as pale as. I need a reference point. Hold on.
You're wearing a shirt, and the glare's pretty bright.
He's this pale. Like, he's red as fuck.
No,
Like,
I mean, if he was in a room
fucking pale nerd who made Blade 20 years ago, like one of the whitest people you'll ever see, like this tubby white guy who made the entire MCU happen. Like in the Thor movies, Heimdall, played by Idris Elba, the gatekeeper of Asgard, in Norse mythology is the whitest of the Norse gods. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he's played by a black guy. Like, they took white characters and made them black.
What do you guys think of the Egyptians? Were they white or black? What do you guys think? Because it's like science.
I think they were brown. I think they were brown, like current, like or probably they had a mix of ethnicities because they made a fucking empire 8,000 years ago.
Well, I mean, I don't get the question. Like, do you mean culturally brown? Because like we just found out that the English were black.
No, they're not culturally brown. They built successful infrastructure.
Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask to like keep away from actual racism.
Yeah, no, that was me taking a jab at the ghetto communities. Sorry.
With the whole like, okay, I'm gonna beat the Egypt dead horse a little bit more. Is people talk about the pyramids? Like, if you look at the pyramids, that is extremely serious engineering work.
Yeah,
like no matter how they did it.
I think, yeah.
The Great Pyramid at Giza is, 500 feet tall, and it's a perfect pyramid.
You know, that's a brilliant, that's a really interesting point that you just raised, because, yes, engineering-wise, it is a very great marvel, but I think it's, you know, the more amazing thing about it is the fact that they had, like, a bureaucratic class, and, you know, they had the organizational skills, and they had the power, and they, you know, I don't think it was built just off slavery, but for an ancient civilization.
My understanding is that the people who built them were paid.
Skilled labor.
That's why I've heard. Yes.
Labor. So you need you need to have, you know, supervisors. It's an actual like.
Oh, I'm sure you had to.
The only unskilled labor building the pyramids at Giza would be the dude next to the masons and architects handing them tools and shit. Where he's like, hey, bring me that. You know what it is? Go get that. Bring it here.
Yeah, but
I'm working.
Think about it like this.
Or the guy's moving rocks. Like,
how far does a hunter-gatherer culture have to get before it's able to construct something like that? Before they can organize themselves?
You're talking about a seriously advanced civilization.
Yeah, I presume they would have had like agriculture and stuff there because.
Oh yeah.
I think it's a bit of not much of a stretch to say that I wouldn't say Egypt was plentiful when it came to the resources.
Back then it was.
Was it?
The Nile Delta.
Oh yeah.
Because they built along the Nile. Yeah.
So they have multiple growing seasons a year. That's why they had the bureaucrat class. So they had the population to support bureaucrats.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
which didn't happen again until the fucking Persians, like 1,000 years later. So, you look at the pyramids; those are complex structures. Like, I'm in welding school. You need to be a skilled laborer to understand welding, which isn't that complicated
to understand it.
I'm not all that smart, but when you're talking masonry on buildings 500 feet tall, like the Great Pyramid is, it's geometrically correct. Skilled labor doesn't do that. That's okay. Unskilled labor is not capable of that. Like, unskilled labor are the people pushing the rocks, not the people placing them. Like you look at the Empire State Building, that wasn't unskilled fucking labor. Okay? You needed people who knew what the fuck they were doing. Or the Opera House in Sydney. That requires a shit ton of skill to make. And you look at this building and a bunch of illiterate assholes who can't wipe themselves made this?
And it's not even that. I mean, it was the fact that I think it was in this temple called Göbekli Tepe. The archaeologists really have no idea how they crafted it, because they made vases, like an ornate vase, where they're just wondering, how do you even get your hand into this? To sort of do this, and it's maybe that was.
I mean, and it's not just
engineering. It's that they had an economy with enough power to support people who would study and develop engineering concepts. People who would sit there on their ass and do math all day. You've got an economy that can support that. A whole class of people who fuck around doing math.
That's pretty good, yeah.
And like this wasn't the only civilization like that.
Yeah, the Mesopotamians way before them.
Yeah. Like there are giant ancient structures all across what is now the Arab-speaking world that even the Romans are like, how the fuck did they build this?
You know, I think it's a real shame what happened, because I reckon the Arabic world could have been the pinnacle of the world civilization, and it's just become an absolute shit show.
There's a lot of reasons for that.
Yeah.
I mean, between like the Ottoman Empire, the Sunni Shia divide,
or just Islam in general.
Can we all agree on something here? And that is, there is no biological reason why a culture, there's no biological reason why a culture can't get to that stage.
No.
Like, it's not just because they're black or Arab.
No.
Biology has dick all to do with it.
Okay.
Like, when the Spanish showed up in Latin America, they got to Machu Picchu. You know, the fortress, monastery, whatever it is at Machu Picchu.
On the mountain, yeah.
You're talking 20-ton rocks that are perfectly fit together that you can't fit a razor blade into. They're fitted perfectly. Or like the Guatemalan pyramids that they built there. I mean, you're talking, they didn't have steel. They didn't have iron. They're working with wood and obsidian and developed highly advanced, complex societies, like economic powerhouses, even compared to the Europeans.
Yeah, it's quite impressive. Like that almost lends legitimacy to the idea that the white people, if they hadn't invaded these countries, could have done well. But
well, they did great for themselves until white people showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, where I live, we have the Mouldy here, and there aren't any like iron deposits or minerals that they could have utilized, and they did build some pretty advanced structures and houses using just wood and rope and yeah, and it's interesting because when New Zealand was colonized, it basically through similar situations to what happened to the Aborigines, and I don't support any sort of I don't support like affirmative action in the United States, but in New Zealand, it was in Maori culture for women to have children much younger, and that culture still exists today. And it's like I can understand some sort of racial affirmative action in my country at least because it's so recent, so modern, and this is a identifiable native populace.
If I remember right, New Zealand and Australia were colonized after the U.S. told the Crown to go fuck itself. Like the loss of North America, of the United States, is what made Australia and New Zealand. That
would coincide with the timeline, yeah.
I believe that's what it is they lost the American seaboard, so they went elsewhere. And the thing is like,
well, that and their prisons were filling up, and they had to send convicts somewhere.
Botany Bay, Van Diemen's Land.
I know those stories. The Aborigines, like the Aboriginal community situation in Australia is, I would say, worse. It is worse than the situation that happens in the ghettos in America, in the African American communities. I mean, I've been in Northern Territory. Have you ever been to Australia, Sam? Well, have any of you ever been to Australia?
No, sadly.
Not since like
Okay, well, in the Northern Territory where most of these are, I went to Darwin a few years ago, and you have Aboriginal people. It's never a white person. It's always Aboriginal people who are treated like shit by the system up there, and I'm willing to actually lend that to them. They're not used to alcohol, so alcohol addiction is a massive problem there. And
same here in the States and in Canada. Alcoholism among Indigenous peoples.
They don't know they don't know how to handle it. Their bodies don't know how to handle it. It really fucks them up and gets them addicted. And the problem is there are two groups that are a problem. It is a limp-wristed government who is just willing to leave them on welfare and let them buy what they want with it. And then it is the lobby groups that are saying, if you prevent, like if you put a race-based restriction on, you know, Aborigines from buying liquor, that's racist, and how dare you? It's like, that would save your community. You know, if it's not a very good means because it's racial discrimination, but it would probably help this group stop living in tents, stop sniffing petrol, stop attacking each other and other people and stealing, and it would get them into the economic system of North Australia and make it a bit of a powerhouse.
You've just raised an amazing topic, and I think we can extrapolate on this. Basically, what you just raised was that, you know, when it came to like banning this race from drinking, you know, at what stage should, you know, the collective infringe on an individual's rights in order to protect the collective?
Yeah.
And before you arrived here, Morrison,
Ben, what do you got?
we had a short discussion about whether the state should force your child to get a vaccine, and I suppose we all concluded yes. But like, you know, the state in China, you know, made, you know, one child policy mandatory. So I'm wondering, in what sense, you know, when would you like sort of restrict an individual's civil
Ben had
rights?
something to say, I think. Ben, what do you got?
I was just going to expand on his point that a couple years ago, I was at the, I believe it was the Apache reservation, and it is just incredible just how impoverished that area is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the reservations here in the States are fuckered up. And in
it's
Canada, the First Nations, they're not doing so hot either. But one explanation I've heard is that there's the difference between the Western cultures and their cultures. Is like the Navajo in Arizona and New Mexico here in the southwestern U.S. Navajo culture is not equipped to deal with the 21st century.
A lot of these cultures aren't, really.
They're
Tribalism
not. So,
doesn't survive in the Western world because it's archaic.
It's not just that, but like their like tribal identities, everything that goes into their cultures is not equipped to handle where it is now stuck. They don't have the resources culturally to go from the frequently warrior hunter-gatherer world to the industrial age that we're in now. So
I'm gonna be right back.
They're stuck. Like these poor people, I feel so fucking terrible for them. Like, I know American reservations, obesity, and alcoholism. Absolutely.
I think much of it has to do with the fact.
Yeah.
I think much of it has to do with the fact that we pushed them off all.
Yeah.
The good land.
Do you guys reckon that if we left these groups alone in their own regions for might be a while, it might be 100 years, it might be a few thousand, do you think they would make it to the point that Western civilization has, or some modern civilization?
I got nothing.
I don't know.
You don't know? Yeah.
I mean,
I'd imagine after a while, every human has within them the element for progressivism in the good way, not regressivism, and would eventually make a move to do that kind of thing. But on the question of restricting individual like race rights of like of a group, which is. It would really rub me the wrong way to do that or to be on the other end of that because, you know, that's exactly what the postmodern left does. It racializes things and singles out groups. But, and the question that really comes into play is who are people that aren't of this group to say that what is good for this group? It's like the government telling people what's good and what's not good for them. That's a bad precedent. But and even if it wasn't a white person, even if it was like another Aboriginal person saying, I don't think my community should be allowed to have access to alcohol from shops and that kind of thing. It's like you don't even speak for them because individuals
what I would say is, as far as government policy, like government level policy, no distinctions made between anybody.
Yeah, but then how do we fix the alcohol problem then? Do we just get rid of liquor stores altogether, or
I mean,
What?
prohibition's not going to work. The United States proved that in the 1930s.
Or heavier, if they heavily policed these areas and then did prohibition, it would be so much more effective.
Prohibition doesn't work. It doesn't.
Well, are you referring to the war on drugs?
War on drugs, but mainly to the American Prohibition Acts in the 1920s and 30s about alcohol.
Because people would smuggle it across borders and that, wouldn't they?
It wasn't even that.
Yeah.
There was a man named William Randolph Hearst. He's a newspaper guy. Like him, Hearst and Joseph Pulitzer made modern journalism. They made the newspaper the thing in the United States. Like yellow journalism, what's happening now, they invented it.
Okay.
They did it first. Like they pretty much coerced the United States into the Spanish-American War. William Randolph Hearst, his home, is called Hearst Castle, San Simeon, California. It's massive. There's nothing else out there, and there's a cane that a guest of his left behind on accident, where you'd screw the handle off of the pole or whatever, and it had a flask in there. And that was confiscated, and they were guests were only allowed to drink from Mr. Hearst's private stock. Their alcohol was confiscated when they arrived during Prohibition. Alcohol sales didn't stop. That's why in like New York City and Chicago and Boston are speakeasies. These hidden bars that you could only find if people told you how to get in there, and if you were allowed in. Like secret bars that nobody that you have to like know people to find. Or like in the American Deep South, moonshine. Have you ever heard that song Copperhead Road? Moonshine, of literally made in somebody's backyard in a shed, grain alcohol. That's 190 proof. It's like 98% alcohol. Out here, people call it white lightning. That you drink.
Sounds like it'd be fun to have a few drinks of, eh?
It is potent shit. But moonshiners, that's where NASCAR came from here in the States. Was moonshiners tricking out their cars.
I heard about that. I was watching did you get that from an episode of Top Gear by any chance? Or
no, that's just the history of it.
Which one?
The one where they were talking about NASCAR, where Richard Hammond was going on and on about it, and they all call him an idiot.
Oh yeah. I know what
That's
you're
where,
talking about.
that's where it came from. So banning alcohol is not the option, just like the conversation going on here in the States about banning firearms. Banning it isn't the question.
Well, how do we do it then? Do we just heavily police it and have them confiscate it from Aborigines? What?
Well,
how do we do
why
it?
not ban it? You'd have like 100 years of warfare, but then after those 100 years, or
Well,
maybe
it might not work, which is what is said, because people would smuggle it and it'd start a black market for
Or
it.
make it themselves. Like,
Make it unsafe.
unless they make it themselves.
I have friends who worked in the prison system here in Central Texas, and they talk about finding gallons of alcohol that inmates made in prison.
It's pretty impressive, though.
You can make alcohol in fucking prison.
How do you do
It's
that?
not going to taste good. You can find the stuff online. Like prison hooch, I think is what it's called. It goes by various names. It's like rotten fruit. And you just make the
Fermented.
proper...
Yeah.
I mean, it's disgusting, but it's alcohol.
There were some really fucked up stories of, prisoners outside of the prison. Not prisoners outside, but convict, or, people outside of the prison killing birds, stuffing those birds with drugs, and then throwing those dead birds over and then the prison inmates pick up those dead birds.
That's like even
That's so
corrections
creative,
officers
that's
here in the States don't know how the inmates do some stuff. She's also like one former friend of mine. We don't talk anymore. She found a guy who had chipped his way through 2 inches of concrete. This guy was in solitary confinement and figured out how to go through concrete.
Yeah. It's amazing what people can achieve.
We're talking human ingenuity here. We are a virtually hairless mammal with neither claws nor teeth nor hide or nothing, who became the apex predator of the world. Because we just make shit up.
What about incarceration of people who are constantly drunk? So it'd be mass racial-based incarceration again, and then rehabilitation. and then it costs a bit of taxpayer money. And have you seen House of Cards? Anyone?
Yeah, a little bit. First couple seasons.
Yeah. You remember AmWorks, the idea that he had, America Works?
Yeah.
Where it was instead of welfare, it was government incentivized jobs. So they could do something like that in the area, and after incarcerating people who have this issue, rehabilitating them, releasing them into a mandated job position, and saying, if you lose this job, you're not getting welfare. I'm sorry.
Vocational rehab.
Yeah.
Well, I'm against it because I'm against it because there are people who are old, predominantly old ladies who are they can drink a lot and they're alcoholics and they're safe. I mean,
well, I think what Marston's talking about here is more like working age adults. People between
I'm not expecting alcoholic old ladies to work a shop job if they'd rather sit down and drink. Like you've lived your life, fucking. Even if you have drank your entire life, you've still lived your life.
Yeah.
All right, just have it. You're fine.
Yeah, you're retiring. Well, and also from a pragmatic perspective, is you're too fucking old to really contribute. Yeah. You got some 73-year-old lady and retirement ages until you're 75. Is it really worth forcing this lady to work for 2 years?
Even they might have to go through rehab for a year and a half.
Yeah. So she's gonna work for 6 months and then go on the dole. Let's be real.
Yeah. Well, we'd have if people in these job positions would have a strike system, and 3 strikes, they show up to work drunk or they abuse customers, something like that. 3 strikes and they're out of a job and they're back on the streets, kind of thing. That should be a tough love kind of incentive, and you don't get any welfare for that because that was your welfare chance.
I mean, you're talking about. I mean, now we're getting into borderline totalitarian water here.
Well, yeah, that's the problem. I think you have to make this movement because they aren't going to have this kind of a cultural shift of their own accord because
No, I can't do it. I know.
It rubs you the wrong way, but every government.
It's not ethical. It's unethical to force people to work or stop.
But neither is slapping them on welfare, which is taxpayer money, and allowing them to use that on alcohol, which will keep them addicted and hooked for their entire life.
I mean, you could do something like, the food stamp system here in the States is you get coupons from the government every 2 weeks, every month. I've never been on it, so I don't know quite how it works. And there's a list of things you're allowed to get.
Yeah.
So
people trade food stamps for alcohol too.
You can do that.
And drugs. Yeah.
You can do that. But, I mean, instead of giving people money, giving people unemployment money, I don't know how the system works there, and saying, here's your check for $400, I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Saying, all right, well, you're allowed to buy, this many pounds of beef, this many loaves of bread, cheese, whatever, and heavily restricted. And this is enough for you to have a caloric intake that you need to survive.
What's your thought about Trump's proposition to?
I was going to bring that up.
Instead of having food stamps, you would have a.
I haven't read into it that much. Are you guys more?
Sorry, you'd have a what? I haven't heard much about this.
So what Trump wants to do is, instead of having food stamps, you would have a prepackaged amount of food being sent to you every week or month. So what's your thought about that?
I think it's an interesting concept because it's pretty easy to abuse the food stamp system here. I've seen it done a lot. Whereas it's kind of hard to abuse a system that just sends you a box of food. I'm not.
Or people sometimes trade boxes of food for drugs.
Hey, it's possible.
Here's what I think. I don't see why you have to. I don't see why you can't just give them money because the average unemployed person is just someone between jobs or someone who's looking to start in a new location or start in a new area. And so what if they buy a bottle of wine? I mean, most people, it's a small issue. And I think that if we start, restricting these people who are unemployed, it's going to take, make them, it'll be just, I don't know. We shouldn't demonize someone because they're unemployed. I mean, that should be like a status. Right?
Ben, you want to take this or should I?
I can understand. But
it's a nice sentiment. It's a beautiful sentiment. All right. The thing, Sam, is the nature of, for lack of a better term, welfare queens.
I mean, all right. So let me fix this. Let me fix this. This would apply.
Their entire lives gaming the welfare system here in the States.
How is that even possible? Like, I mean, in my country, if they will find you work after a certain amount of time. There's like a short list. So how do you have welfare?
Between people who just lie, people who intentionally, I've seen people who work part-time jobs, but they make exactly enough that they can continue collecting welfare. And what the net result is people who a lot of times spend just as much time gaming the system or figuring out ways to break it as they would doing an actual job.
Okay, yes, but my response to that would be, well, a lot of the cases, that's actually the businesses who are only giving them that amount of hours. Like, I got a job at Subway recently,
Everybody
and before I even signed the contract, they were telling me to get on welfare, so they don't. Well, they didn't say why, but I presume it's so that they could have the government pay for some of my. Yep. Yeah, I mean it's a tricky one, and I mean I'm not opposed as to limiting the amount of money or what people can spend their money on if they've been on welfare for like 5 years and there's no good reason for it or something like that.
How many of you are like tabletop gamers?
No.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, like I play Warhammer 40K. There's some other games that I play, but in every game system, there are people who figure out ways to break the game in their favor. Like the South Korean StarCraft players who work at it relentlessly just so they can manipulate certain mechanics in their favor against someone else. That's something I've noticed about human action, is there are always going to be people who will find a way, they will find a system, whether it's a game or government assistance or whatever, or business. They will find a system that they enjoy interacting with, and they will find a way to break it in their favor. That's how you end up with people like, what was his name? Those big industrialists back in the 1800s. The guys who bought up everything in front of them. They're making something, so they bought the railroad, they bought forests, they bought transportation companies, they bought everything else out around them. Like John Spreckles, who I know because I'm from San Diego, who's a sugar baron who bought forests so he could find the sugar in them. And some people are going to pick that system and they're going to abuse it. So the idea of, because food stamps have a monetary value. Yeah. And I don't know how, but somehow people abuse that system, even though it's already very regulated. So it's, instead of, I'm going to give you something with a monetary value and trust you to buy food with it to feed your family, I'm just going to send you the food. I'm going to cut out the middleman, the intermediate steps here.
There's another issue I have with this, and it's like the food quality in America, I would say, is too high in the salt, too high in the. I mean, like I wouldn't force someone to eat 2-minute noodles.
I mean, like I've seen, they call it SNAP. I forget what it's called, but it's the food stamp program. I looked at the list of stuff on there, and it's all. I mean, yeah, there's 2-minute noodles on there that's got like a gram of sugar for 200 milligrams of food, and just ridiculous amounts of salt or sugar. But the government system, a lot of it has good food on there. Like I've even seen like nice beef, quality beef on food stamps. That's what you can get. So, I mean, and the idea of, because a lot of really poor areas like where I live is a food desert. Where people don't really have access to quality food. So instead of, hey, you live in this hellhole area where the only where the food you can get easily is like McDonald's, the king of shitty fast food here. So instead of that, I'm going to send you a box of nutritious food, and you can eat it or not.
That would be good, but also to sort of curb obesity.
And that's the thing about food assistance here in the States is they're actually required by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to provide quality food. The food stamps program is actually nutritionally balanced, as far as I'm aware, but it gets abused. So cutting out the middle steps, and so I'm going to pay somebody to do all this paperwork, and they're going to give you food stamps, and then we're going to put you on the honor system to go down to the store and get food for your family. I'm going to cut all that other crap out. I'm just going to send you food. And as a nice side bonus, it props up the U.S. postal system that is dying.
Yeah, well, I don't think we should. Yeah. That's yeah. I mean, it's an interesting one. Like, I guess I'm against like concept because, you know, like what your conception of, you know, because you said good quality, high quality meat. I mean, there are a lot of people who consider just meat to not be a valid option. And so unless they made these things to, you know, suit someone's dietary requirements, you know, that like imagine if they sent a Muslim pork.
I'm sure there'd be some consideration. I mean, to not make that consideration would be just irresponsible.
Yeah, I mean, sounds right.
I don't know what's going on. That could be someone pouring themselves with. Oh,
he's in the toilet.
All right.
All right.
I wasn't sure if someone was pouring themselves a drink, like noisily out of a pitcher, or using the toilet. It could have gone either way. I mean, yeah. All right, you guys, I'm getting tired. This
What's the time where you
are? Right now, it's 7:15 p.m. But this is like, I've got a headache trying to keep up with you guys.
We've been streaming for like 4.5 hours, I think.
Yeah, I haven't even had breakfast yet. Whoops.
Yeah, no.
It's kind of late there for you, isn't it? Like noon.
It's like 11:10. Missed my breakfast, man.
All right, cool.
Oh, back.
I think we should have a debate on the EU at some point and see where we stand on that.
I don't even know, man.
Research it. It's an interesting scenario.
Well, it's like there's so fucking much going on.
Or maybe about the United Nations, and should we keep that like that?
A conversation I'd like to have with you guys is NATO.
Yeah, I need to look more. I will.
NATO's a fun one. I've spent a little bit of time studying it. Like, I was so confused by seeing like Albanians and Bulgarians and Lithuanians on like Kandahar airfield. We had a Lithuanian special ops team. I think they were Lithuanian on my FOB in Afghanistan. I'm like, why the fuck are you guys here? And I actually had to look up the reason why. And I was like, oh. And Australia and New Zealand are kind of party to the North Atlantic Treaty. You have like a partnership with NATO, but because you're not on the North Atlantic, you're like not all the way in there. It's weird. But I still saw Australians and New Zealanders in Afghanistan. I remember chatting with some Australian major. I'm like, hey, sir, how's it going? He's like, yeah, it's whatever.
We could have a debate between we could have a debate between like atheists. Are you guys religious?
I'm an atheist.
We need religious
myself Christian.
I'm on the fence with that. It's like I'm not religious personally, but there are some compelling arguments about at least the importance of religion, if anything.
So would you say you're a theist?
Me, no. But I'm more of an agnostic.
Oh,
I suppose. Gotcha. I'm
are you? Okay, so
Morrison, would you ever join an organized religion? I mean, or are you just a spiritual person?
I'm not fucking spiritual. I'm very grounded, actually. But there's like a very small chance at the moment of me in like the distant future joining one. I'm not sure.
So you're kind of an agnostic theist.
Yeah, I'm on the agnostic side, but I'm like edged towards theist. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's I think a lot of listening to Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro has pushed me to the theist side of the agnostic thought.
Yeah, it's not for me. I'm not going to try to convert people. I'm only going to share my view of why I don't do religion anymore.
Yeah,
that'll definitely be for another day because my head hurts and I need some like aspirin. Yeah,
you know, the very first Liberalist live stream that I did was with this guy called Carlos, and he was trying to argue that atheism is a religion.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Yeah, we butted heads for like 2 hours.
But
he basically just said he made up his own. By the end of it, he just conceded that he was using his own definition.
Yeah, Greg Fleur, Armored Skeptic, has done several videos about that, about how atheism doesn't exist, how atheism is a religion, and he's just sitting there like, no, man, you're like, he likes other YouTubers who are saying these things, and he's like, no, man, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but you're wrong. It's like, hey, you're entitled to your wrong opinion. You know, it's a free country and all that, but no, dude, like, you're wrong. Like, yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off. My head, like, my face hurts.
Your face.
But, cool. Yeah, like, I got a sinus headache building up on me.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I'm going to let you guys go. Let me know whenever the next time is, if you want me on or whatever, or if you think I'm an asshole and I'm done. But yeah,
remember, everyone, atheism is the easiest religion to troll.
Have a good one, you guys. I'm out.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and have something to eat. You guys have a good one.
Cool. Thank you.
See ya.
Cool. Yeah.